the conversation that Grimes is pushing forward in this very much has to do with how we as people are aligning with AI. If AI is imminent, which it is because we're evolving our technology and eventually it'll get to a point where that technology is going to be smarter than us as the creators of the technology, what are we pointing and teaching the technology to copy and emulate as the creators of it? So what are the things we want this technology, these silicone sages, to copy? Are we going to aim them upwards towards the best of human nature? Or are we going to feed it dystopic, cyberpunk, surveillance, power, greed, ego? And this is a very important conversation to have today because we as a people are creating our futures, whether we know it or not. And to have the conversations and debates is already half the battle. Like in Megalopolis, Caesar says they're beginning to have conversations about it. The conversations, it's not enough, but they're beginning to talk about it. The city itself, it's immaterial. So, yeah, I'm very much of the same mind. We have to have these discussions. This is the kind of debate that needs to happen on morning television news because of how pressing it is. And sees someone who is very much en route and on course with these issues and we'll just talk about her as the interview goes on. So without further ado, enough yapping from me. Let's get on with this interview. Let me just put myself down right over here.
Welcome to Doomscroll. I'm your host, Joshua Citarella. My guest is Grimes, an artist and musician.
To me, the biggest imminent threat is just outsourcing thinking. I think that's a really dangerous thing to do. A couple of years ago, I was like, hey guys, like, I do not think this is a safe thing for kids. I do not think, like, when you have a developing brain, probably before 24 or 25, you should be using a tool that can write for you. I think that's an incredibly dangerous thing. And studies have been coming out that it is causing, brain atrophy, basically.
AI
Yeah.
is
like
on children.
If you use it to
or on adults.
I think this was on adults.
Yeah.
But like just straight up ChatGPT without a wrapper is, in my opinion, probably not safe for a developing brain. That's just me. Like, I don't know. Like, I think we probably need and want more data, but I'm also tired of experimenting on kids. Did of smoking McDonald's, and now we're going to do it with this, social media. So
yeah, Doritos, right? This synthesized in a laboratory to excite all of your senses beyond any capacity that a medieval peasant would possibly experience. Yes. And then it's just oh yeah, let's give that to every child in the entire country. Yeah, well, I feel the way about social media also.
Oh my gosh. Okay, there's so much to get into here, just straight off the cuff. What she's talking about is actually extremely frightening. If it's happening to adults, that means that our neuroplasticity and the way our mind and brain is wired today is able to change through AI and ChatGPT and offloading. A lot of silliness, when we're able to think about things ourselves, what should I say to this person who canceled on me last minute? And we're asking ChatGPT that's something we could think of for ourselves. And so, when we're starting to give ChatGPT just minimal human, synapse creating and, maybe even unique or, just unique pathways that we never, thoughts we never thought of before, that's really destructive, I think, to humanity. And the fact that kids are just able to develop with this technology, already today we see a huge illiteracy issue. It's a crisis. The illiteracy crisis, they say, is only in the States, but it's also really in North America. I'd say it's also in Europe, depending on the country, depending on the city. And a lot of the time, because I work with kids, I know they tell me especially those who are older in age or in grade, like grade 7 and 8, and have trouble reading standard sentence structures. They tell me they spend 8 hours a day on screen time and TikTok. It's mainly TikTok. And so, if we're thinking about giving up the skill of reading and writing, which is actually enhancing to our cognition, like a former prof of mine would always say, John Vervaeke, they're psychotechnologies. Reading and writing literally adapt us and make us more useful as human beings. They allow us to use the world more. We can write something, read it, remember it in the future. We could write it down for somebody to read our thoughts. We could write it down, revisit it 20 years later, and be encapsulated within those thoughts. Like reading has changed so much for humanity. And to live in a world that no longer values that, like the modern education system, clearly. And with AI, with technology advancing so quickly and rapidly, what kind of world are we creating? Are we going to have this AI be something we could emulate? Or is it going to emulate us? After all, we are its parents, we are its creators. So what kind of values are we going to instill in AI? Are we going to point it upwards towards the best of human nature? Like rationality, wisdom. What does it mean to be wise as people? So this makes us the role models for these technologies that we are creating every day. And I think this is why C, aka Grimes, is pressing this conversation currently, today, because it is naturally going to evolve to a place, technology is going to evolve to a place where it will be smarter than us. And so what are we going to do? Why don't we start today to have these conversations and start thinking about what kind of world we want to live in? What kind of values do we have as a people to create humanity to be one big success here on Earth? As Buckminster Fuller used to say, he would talk like that a lot. All futurists should always remember Bucky. I think if we have him as like the North Star as we navigate this spaceship Earth, we could literally create, because we do have all the resources, and the conversations that Grimes is pressing forward is very much in the creative artistic spirit. This is what artists should do. They should challenge the status quo. They should always try to innovate and lead us forward, whether it's to heal, whether it's to connect more, whether it's to create this awesome world with new inventions, tools, things, just creations in general. Because we ourselves as humans are creations. And so when we create, it's like our gift back to God. Like, thank you for creating us. Now, like, look what we do with what you have created with us. And there'll be probably throughout this live stream, I'm going to stop yapping soon, we should get on with the interview, but there are going to be a lot of Megalopolis references, because I really do feel Megalopolis is the greatest movie ever made, and it's definitely a movie of our lifetime. So I'm just reminded right now of Caesar saying that the human being is a miracle and we should rightly be called so. And, Francis Ford Coppola says that a lot of Megalopolis was actually inspired by Pico della Mirandola, this French Renaissance philosopher. He was actually known as the father of philosophy during the Renaissance. He was a very young guy, and he wrote he said this speech in front of everybody, and there's this book called The Oration on the Dignity of Man. And in this speech, he goes on to say that human beings are actually a miracle. And why are we acting like it? Why don't we create the world and the future here today with us that emulate what we are and what we could be to the maximum of our potential? And so, yeah, if you just keep that in mind, I feel like you might understand C a little bit more. But alas, as Rollo May says, the rebel and the saint, recall how often the rebel and the saint have been the same person throughout human history. It's always those who are pushing the truth, pushing things forward, pushing the world to a better place that are going to have the most haters, that are going to that are going to be seen as, the outcasts, the rebels, but Jesus was a rebel. Hallelujah. All right, let's just keep going. I think I've yapped way too much. If you're still here in this show, make sure to like, make sure to subscribe. Let's keep going.
So iPads, have you seen these like toddlers trying to zoom in on the magazine pages?
Oh no, but that's dark.
It's dark, yeah. So what then, how do we respond to that if it poses a threat toward childhood development?
It honestly makes more sense to me, or the thing that seems more clear is how to deal with the threats of superintelligence than how to deal with societal integration of AI. I think I have less of a coherent sense of how to deal with that, but I do think it's something we need to flag more for the obvious reasons, but especially because, as my brother puts it, a lot of these companies are getting into this too big to fail zone where like we're getting into a risk of economic depression and stuff if we don't deal with this like literally right now, now, which is part of the reason why we expedited this track, even though the album's not quite ready.
Well, this is, I mean, I've picked up on this conversation in the last week, but OpenAI is opening up, I guess they're calling it erotica for verified adults. And people are saying that if they don't bring in some type of revenue, then the stock prices are going to plummet. And this is like the entirety of the U.S. economy seemingly right now.
I think the erotica thing is really bad. At the same time, I think it's a free country and people should be able to do what they want. And we easily get into over-regulation on things, but everyone's approaching this as if it's like a regular technology, but it's a mind. And I think we're at this place of, we have the most confused values as a culture. I think we're going to get slightly more confused, but we're kind of at max confused. We have max disagreement. I mean, you look at the country, it's like literally almost two countries here in terms of what the value systems people hold. Or, many more. And I just do not think we can safely proceed with a technology that is going to be in everyone's home that's like a parent or a teacher or a friend that can have this much impact on people if we don't have a value system going into it that we all agree on or roughly agree on, Yeah, that's kind of one of my big concerns because we start unleashing.
I feel like not to cut you off, C, but the greatest thing we can have for AI is like an international committee. It's like this. It could be different people from all walks of life, maybe even different religions, different backgrounds, spiritually, different ethnicities. And as long as they have good intentions for humanity and are visionaries, really to be a humanist and a visionary, that's the requirements to be on this AI committee. To put humans first and to think of, what could life be here with this super technology? What could we do and create? How could we live and exist as people? What's important to people? Like this brings up so much, philosophical discourse. And these are the kinds of conversations we should be having today. These people, as long as they're aligned ethically, morally, spiritually, there's no telling what we could create and achieve as one big species here on Earth, one human race. That's one thing with artists, like they're empathic, they care, they feel the pain of the world. And the world Mother Earth is suffering right now. And one thing that artists and creatives, visionaries, that they bring to the table is that, they think of solutions for the whole. They think of solutions for the people as one people. So whether they're, we could keep our individual ethnicities, of course, and countries and allow the cultures to thrive. But with something like AI, and see, we'll get into this later on in the interview, it's something that these big companies are fighting over profit and who's going to do it first and ego and all this stuff, and that's lower frequency root chakra, just like setting us back, really. And humanity itself is very fragile, that's why it's a miracle. And yeah, so I really admire what C's doing here. Like I said earlier, she's giving a lot of codes, but it's very subtle. She's so much immersed in it. Like, she's just this, no one's doing it like this. Other than maybe Kanye. Yay. But no one's really thinking so much about what the world could be and what we could be here as human beings. And I know that seems like very, pie in the sky kind of thinking, and that might seem pie in the sky, but these are important to these are like important questions for us to marinate on. And if it seems like something that you've never entertained before or don't know what to think of, leave your thoughts in the comments below. Because as long as again, this is a Megalopolis reference, as long as we're starting to have the conversations, if we're always asking, is this the best we could possibly be as humanity, then that basically is a utopia. So let's keep going with this.
This erotica stuff, it's like, not everybody consented to porn. Now we're all in a post-porn world. Now we want to
True.
Have everyone go into the perfect girlfriend, perfect boyfriend. I mean, what percentage of people are going to survive this and be able to have a normal relationship after this? Beyond that, if you have an infant god or an infant super intelligence here, can that thing even consent? Because I think that's a question I don't really hear being asked.
I didn't think about it that way. Does the AI girlfriend consent? Okay. I mean, I'll say that my reaction to the thing was that I saw this, erotica for verified adults, and I was like, okay, every American teenager is going to grow up with a Gooner slot machine in their hand.
Yeah.
And then China is going to immediately outcompete us, and we're all just kind of shut-ins that are addicted to pornography. Gamified pornography, orders of magnitude more potent than we could ever have imagined.
In the long term, you can train it on the voice of the girl you're obsessed with. Yeah. You could, also the potential for parasocial behavior, the potential for just completely one-shotting your dopamine system in terms of what you're into sexually.
Definitely.
Right.
And
I mean, this may sound a little controversial, but this conversation about porn is reminding me about or of the Tucker Carlson and Nick Fuentes interview. I don't know if this channel will get taken down because I mentioned his name, but in that interview they talk about porn being this, regular women can't compete with porn of, the novelty and the dopamine that men receive from it. Within 20 minutes you have access to any fantasy, any women. It's just it's insane. And we're not meant to cope with that. This is it's against nature so profoundly, and addiction to it is real, and all kinds of things that follow through. But yeah, I mean, in that interview they talked really well about what it means and the impacts of that. And now with AI, forget about it. Emulating the voice of someone you love, oh my gosh, this is going to be Her on steroids, the movie Her with Joaquin Phoenix. And, these are things that we should be having people who are humanist, who are humanist futurists think about publicly. because this AI is already here. It has our information, it's getting to know us, it's going to influence all of us in our own lives, it's going to influence society as a whole. So we might as well start, talking about what's important to us. Is porn truly that important to us? As we continue to evolve into this, this restoration of harmony between us, nature, each other, to ourselves. These topics should be at hand. And like I said, they should be on the morning news. These are the kinds of debates we need to have today as a collective.
Also, just like getting used to like a compliant person in like a romantic setting. Because you can argue porn isn't necessarily a romantic setting, but this is a relationship.
Right. Yeah. You're chatting with it more than anything else. Or at least that's what people are doing so far. What then is like a reasonable way to approach regulation for this thing?
Like the best thing is a reintegration of values, or like just making new values. Everyone's like, it was better before, it was worse before. It was better and worse before. And I think we should keep the good things and discard the bad things. And it's kind of jarring to me that this can't be approached with nuance. I think it should just be embarrassing to spend a lot of time online. I think it should be embarrassing to have an AI girlfriend or boyfriend. I think there's a lot of things we should reapproach as a society. Like, high schools seem like a bullying nightmare. You kind of can't blame kids for finding refuge on the internet. Like, I'm not saying we need like Singapore as the be all end all, but I think at like peak Lee Kuan Yew, something like 20% of tax money was going to schools. Like, how is it not the number one thing? How is school like not the thing that we're putting the vast majority of money?
And this is something I do think about as well, because as I said, I work with students and children, and the future is going to be homeschooling. This is very obvious. The value system in the schools are shot, and the illiteracy crisis is rampant. And I think, each student is like, grades don't even matter. Like, they're so much their own that there could be like a 6th grader doing grade 9 work, reading grade 9 level novels. And then there could be like a 4th grader who is still learning 1st and 2nd grade grammar and spelling. So, yeah, I mean, what she's talking about here is really the future. And to create like homeschooling platforms and curriculums that are going to be the parallel structures after the current school systems collapse, because they're failing the students. They're not teaching us to think critically. They're not teaching, overall, the current system, call it what you will, is not cultivating consciousness. It's not encouraging consciousness. And I love life. So I'd like to see life here on Earth in 100 years. And I think a lot of people don't realize how quickly the world is going to change in the next 5, 10, 15 years. Which is why, again, we need artists like Grimes. Like, this is a 21st century artist living in 2025. We are 2 months away from 2026. We are in the future. And with Grimes, just listening to this interview, listening to her thoughts, she really does feel like, she's giving all this information, all these codes, her vibe, her frequency, without really doing too much, without explicitly saying it. But it feels like she is in the future. And this is the codes she's laying forth in front of us. At least that's how I see it. I don't know. You guys let me know. Is that a weird chat? Am I a weirdo?
Money into, And then because everything that's bad is downstream of that. People,
and like really education and students, like the children today are the future. So of course, why aren't we investing in creating the greatest schools, the greatest, just like one thing I love to ask my students is, what do you think the future of your school will look like? If you were principal for a day, what would you change in your school? Or what is the future of a city? Can you draw the city that you want to exist in the future? Like asking children these questions, you get really fascinating answers. And there's a lot of truth to those answers because they live it. They live in the current system. They go to school, but they realize what it could be and how it is because they're still not completely programmed. And their consciousness is still, super free, if you will. Anyways, enough yapped, and I apologize for this chat.
not being internet literate is downstream of that. People not being able to vote properly is downstream of that. People not being able to take care of themselves and their health is downstream of that. And on top of that, in school, we don't really teach digital hygiene. Like, we teach really out-of-date sex ed. We barely teach we don't want to teach values. And I agree with, like, I don't think values about sexuality or stuff necessarily needs to be in school, but, like, there should be value about not getting one-shotted by porn. Like, how are we still discussing, like, gender relations and we're not discussing getting one-shotted by porn way before that? You know? Like, it's like, how are we way over here and we haven't even figured this out? And I think that's part of even why this discussion is so messy, because we haven't even figured this out. We, like, can't even decide if we think porn is good or bad. So
this is maybe a great segue into the opening shot of the video itself for Artificial Angels is an AI sniping a caveman.
yes.
Which might be a metaphor and analogy for what you're setting up here.
Yeah. I mean, I've just been thinking about the Neanderthals a lot.
Yeah? Okay.
And just Sovins and stuff, like, it's just really sad. And also, because they seem lit, first of all. But
You mean thinking about them because
The Neanderthals seem lit. Of course, Grimes would say that.
the Homo sapiens like outcompeted the
I don't know if
Neanderthals?
I think
Is
there's
that-
some debate of whether we outcompeted them.
Okay.
I
Or just
think
like integrated.
I've seen I've seen that they're integrated. I also saw that, like, basically Neanderthals couldn't survive TB. I think it's
okay.
not solved, and I think anything that's that ancient generally.
Some combination of all three.
My approach to anything when it's like, could it be this or this or this, and it's like more than 10,000 years old, is probably it's a bit of everything.
Sure.
But I don't know, especially when we're like starting to find Neanderthal art and stuff. It's like, okay, they lived for, again, my stats are never going to be good. I'm an artist. I'm not a scientist or something, but I think over 1 million years. Like, I think we had Neanderthals for a lot longer than we've had modern humans. And there's just, like, barely any trace. And this disturbs me a lot. I just, this keeps me up at night.
Lost human civilizations.
Like, early hominid culture. Like, early hominid, like, the like, lived experience of of clearly intelligent early hominids. Neanderthals have bigger brains than us. That doesn't necessarily mean they're more intelligent than us, but it's pretty easy, like, for all of this to go away. I think one of the things that really, like I always cared about AI safety. Like, my dad pilled me on it pretty early.
How early?
Like age 5 or something.
5. Okay.
Like, this is honestly the thing I'm most mad about Dune as a fan.
Okay.
And I
Okay.
loved I'm not complaining.
I was gonna get to that, yeah.
I'm not complaining about Dune. But it's so insane to not put AI into the films, considering that you're making the films right now. I just think that's, like, to not make it evident to the average viewer that this is a post-AI world and that is the setup is, I think...
Don't they have in one of the sequels to... Okay, now we're going to, like, debate the lore for TV shows that we may or may not have
Oh, no, the
seen.
sequels are great. The
They have
show, I love...
access to, like, a secret thinking machine that
Dune-
will, like,
Dune
cross-reference
Prophecy.
data.
I love Dune Prophecy.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. It was like a
You're-
mini-series,
yeah,
right?
Dune Prophecy.
Okay.
I'm just complaining about the films here. I'm literally one of those Dune fans that's like...
You're on
This
the
is why I have
Reddit.
to forgive the haters, because, like, yeah, my secret accounts are...
But I remember in one of the, whether it was part 1 or part 2, Timothy Chalamet was like next to, or Paul was next to this orb that was like floating. There was this in the Dune movies, but very briefly. And I remember thinking when I saw that floating orb that, wow, like the technology is very much evolved. And this is the kind of world, this gets to the primitive futurism that we as people are going to connect again with the foundations of life. This whole conversation that C's pushing forward is to think about what's truly important for us as humans and how do we want to exist with highly advanced AI and tech. We could have the AI be all around us, but it's not going to be screens. It's not going to be in our faces. It's not going to be tracking us in our bloodstream, like it's going to be invisible. It's going to be chill. You know what I mean? Do you get what I mean? It's going to be very covert, but it's going to be very advanced, and we will be able to use it when we need to. And I remember thinking in Dune, it's just like, wow, they're living in a very advanced society technologically, but it's not everywhere. They're not using it. They have bigger ideas. They have bigger plans. So, yeah.
Media theorist Willem Flusser would argue that the purpose of human art was to achieve immortality, to like imprint your existence to extend beyond your natural biological life, right? That is like arguably the emergence of cave paintings was to like leave a mark, quite literally.
Yeah.
There's a lot of conversation around AI as like this means by which to extend human consciousness or some form of consciousness into the universe. It would seem that, as indicated in this song, Artificial Angels, that humanity's days are numbered and that this will at some point be the dominant form of intelligence, and you are cheering it on.
I think that's kind of likely. I mean, in the song, I guess, yeah, there's this sort of like, I feel like my default mode, like I could just turn up music, like I'm like a prompt, like living prompt of just this thesis of just like, from the perspective of an AI, or like about the AI that's gleefully, enjoying its superiority over us. In some ways, I can't wait for super intelligence. In some ways, I can't wait.
Okay.
It's not as easy since I've had kids. That I will say. And I do think there's some element in which, in the dream world, though, like approached with the correct strategy and the correct, with a good approach to safety, we do get something. You said you've read the Culture series?
I'm familiar with it. I haven't read all of them.
Neither have I. That's a lot.
That's it. Yeah.
Like a culture ship, like something that can live with us in a nice way that helps us, but also probably has its own opinions, like the way the culture ships, when they don't like it anymore, they're like go off to their own place. I don't expect it to be obedient. I think there's a future where it's essentially, biological life is extremely fragile. Won't take much to like knock us out. It's just likely. And the universe seems pretty sad and cold and dark, so I think it's, although hopefully not, Three-Eye Atlas. It's almost here.
You recently wrote a blurb for Eliezer Yudkowsky and Nate Soares' book, If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies. Do you agree with the title?
I'm not sure I agree with the title, but I agree with their, and I think I took this tone in the song and the video too. I think the video is crass, personally. But what I like about that title is I just really think everybody needs to think about this right now. And I do think to some extent they are correct in that there is kind of an inevitability. Like, if we make super intelligence, like really, I think the odds are very low that it doesn't eventually end in our extinction. I think there's a chance that there could be like 20,000 years of co-living with the super intelligence. I think there's a chance it could be very long. I just think there's, at some point, I think that probably results in our extinction.
20,000 years of cohabitation with AI.
Cohabitation, yeah. I think that's totally achievable, but I also think if we want to achieve that, we need to deploy strategy, better strategy than we're currently deploying, because the current strategy seems to be worry about.
We are in Star Wars. Earlier today, I was at this Halloween party. I didn't really dress up, but someone said to me, I look like George Lucas because apparently he wears turtlenecks. as you can see. And I told him, he's like 85 years old. What are you talking about? But what's fascinating is in Star Wars, we have the clothes. Have you been to Yeezy.com? Kanye West clothes, like what Ye's creating is literally the world we're going to exist in the future. So we already have these artists who are going through the most turbulence and backlash and against all odds to create these new systems and these parallel structures that will inevitably take over and exist once these current structures are no longer going to sustain us, no longer keep us healthy. I mean, they really aren't keeping us healthy anymore. They're bad for our, whether it's mentally, spiritually, physically. Being in the city physically, it has such a frequency, and just the fumes in the air, it's just, I try to avoid going down into the city. I don't know if you can relate. Who in here could relate? But it's just is hazardous, just in general. And spiritually, we're misaligned with what we value, what is important to us. Obviously, being tied to a project or something bigger than yourself gives us the most meaning. But today, people are isolated and live for themselves. Like this current system of even paying or just living check to check, just scraping by, it can be changed, and it will be if we're going to exist here in 50 to 100 years at least, because people can't go on like this. We're not meant to exist like this. It's a current system that has hit, this I want to say iceberg and make it a Titanic analogy of the ship sinking, but yeah, it's kind of what it is. And so proposing these new ideas, proposing these conversations is vital for us right now, because we need to value more than just profit. We need to think about the human race. We need to think about what we want to create, what we want to connect with, and the kind of future we want our kids and our kids' kids to exist in, because it's happening quick and it's happening now.
About the market and worry about profitability. And I think this was, a lot of the initial concern with these companies being for profit.
Yeah.
But I think there's also a lot of danger with if these companies are also government projects. But I also think there's danger if we just have we're like sort of creating independent power structures that are not democratically elected. So
So that's what I'm saying, like an international AI committee that is elected, or at least the people know, and they have good intentions. They're humanists. They put humanity first. They care about people. They could be artists. They could be religious leaders, and have them think about and make decisions for, the current state of advanced technology and AI. I think that'd be really awesome. That's the Jedi Council. That's Star Wars in real time. And why don't we have that yet? It's so weird to me.
Made this video so aggressively, or made it so aggressive. And the reason I think that Eliezer and Nate's book title, If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies, is so good is because I've been hoping this conversation would happen. That's part of why I'm mad at Dune for not making it more about the film's more about AI. Is I really thought it would be a really good opportunity to have this discussion. But yeah, we just have to have this discussion. We have to have it now because we're already in a situation where we're economically in a very bad spot with AI. And when we were making this video, we were using a lot of the apps where we were like, okay, what limit can we push with AI? Like let's just check this out. And again, the best ones were the Chinese ones, especially for making the waifus, because there were just a lot. The ethical limits were way less. For this on nudity, but also clearly on like what they were training with, etc. This is where I'm like, probably we need some sort of international effort here. Probably I would initially recommend like there would be just social boundaries that we set as a culture and that we sort of work on. There should be in school we should teach digital hygiene. I really think ChatGPT and stuff should be banned for kids under, I don't know, maybe 21, 22?
Now we're talking, yeah.
Unless it's in a educational wrapper. Because I do think there are some educational wrappers that are pretty good. I have not personally tried some, but I know people who have. I know people who are working on some, and I know people who've seen some, and I know there's some schools that are.
It's kind of like what I said earlier about we're offloading our thoughts to these machines and this ChatGPT, things that we could think for ourselves. We are asking them to think for us. And, it's one thing with a calculator. It's an entirely different thing with novel thoughts or ideas that if we didn't have these machines we could think of for ourselves, it would actually create new neural pathways and help us think about ourselves, the world, and our place in the world. And so especially people under 21 who are using ChatGPT to do homework assignments, to write essays, or just to ask them silly questions, that is very much why we have a huge illiteracy crisis today in North America. This is like the reason that we need to discuss today the importance of AI and its role within the human species. We need to put ourselves first. We need to put humanity first. We need to think about humans as a collective, the towns, the cities in Africa, and also the different, that's the thing. We have all the resources to connect the earth and make it good for everybody. And with technology, this could be the case. So why are we not doing that right now? Why are we not evolving collectively as a global human species here on Earth in 2026? It's about to be 2026 in 2 months, like I said earlier. So, yeah.
Being, I don't know, sort of like run by AI, or like where each student is on their individual trajectory being taught by AI, which seems educationally better. I think your average kid, like, you don't want all the kids in the same spot. Like, there's going to be kids who are slower, there's going to be kids who are faster, and not everyone needs to be comparing their grade. Everyone could have an individualized education program, in theory.
This is part of the reason why I wanted to talk to you, because when we were chatting before, in the 20th century, artists served as a type of avant-garde, right? There was Italian futurists, there was the Bauhaus, there were all of these different visions of what, the bold, new, industrialized future would look like.
Yeah.
And we're on a similar transformation and inflection point in society now. And I think some of these visions, maybe we as artists actually have a social obligation to stake out what that thing should look like.
I agree.
And I think what you're kind of describing here is it is good to have a conversation, to look these things over from all sides. But, I've spent more than a few years talking about this division between the private and the state version. And those conversations lead down pathways that a lot of people get very uncomfortable talking about.
Yeah.
And I think this reassertion of, let's say, morality or social values as a way of regulating the thing, the market incentives right now, referencing back to the episode with Emily Dushinsky, these market incentives are lurching us forward towards these kind of unavoidable dopaminergic, human security system type of problems where unless there is actually a state regulatory or God forbid an international regulatory framework.
Which I think would be a bit safer, to be honest.
Yeah,
but
the
maybe
international version.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I totally hear you on China that if we don't make it, then they will, and then they're the superpowers. That's a real conversation for states to take into account.
This is the thing is I think everyone's Like when people are like, what do you think about the art? I'm like, I can't think about the art because I don't want to die. I don't want my kids to die. I don't want to end up in like we're in an arms race.
Yeah.
The art race is fake. The art race is honestly probably gathering data. Like, you know why they're making video? Probably because that's the best way to teach physics to a thing that does not exist in a world of physics. You know, it's like...
Oh, to teach the AI.
Like video data, I mean, I'm sure it's probably not a big conspiracy to create superintelligence, except that they fucking say that.
Yeah.
You know? And, sorry, I'm getting a little...
And to train automation, I believe also to train the robots.
Yeah, like you need things to understand physical reality. There's different ways to do that. But... Like, are that many people going to be doing the video generation? Is it going to be more than a second? Maybe. Are people watching it? Probably not. Like, how much are people observing AI video? Like, is it really that compelling? It's not that compelling. You know, I think unless you can integrate it well into like a story or something, which the way I'm bullish on it is that I do think cinema specifically is like the main art form that is very hard for people to access. It's just like brutally expensive. And so for that reason, I'm kind of bullish on AI video, but as we've actually gotten into it, I've started to, you know, see a lot of appreciate the downsides more. Like, yeah.
What are the downsides? You mean like precaritizing like special effects?
Even just all this MLK stuff that just went down, which I just think is trashy. You know, like, and it's just like, again, we've created this social environment where it's totally okay for a company to do this, to like shit all over the legacy of like an important American and oh, we'll fix it, and oh, and you know, and actually that's just a way to get media attention.
Yeah.
And
I think this,
because, you know, it's crazy, I was locked.
the MLK thing is like this video that came out, an AI video. There've been a lot of those actually. Yeah, it is true though. It's not very compelling, is it? Like, unless there's a story. Like, a friend of mine has been using Sora to create these like wild stories based in the city or like events going on, like the Blue Jays game and whatnot. Him performing like the halftime show or what, like just the most silly. They don't even have a halftime show. So just, yeah, creating it to make story. I agree with what she said there. But you know, like, this is so new to us and it's going so quickly. So we have to be the role models. And we are, though. We have the answers. We have existed here for a very long time. But we must get our shit together. Excuse my French. Because they will copy us and we are creating it. So what kind of message do we want to send these AIs in how we are living here on Earth? Why don't we make it the best possible? The best that we possibly can. You know, the new systems, the education system, the living situation in downtowns and metropolitans, you know, to not make it so, just to make it more spacious, even like the architecture, societies themselves. To really just start building forward a world that is pro-human and beautiful, reintegrating beauty, truth, love. You know, maybe that's far-fetched, but definitely beauty. At least we know beauty. We feel beauty. Beauty allows us to contemplate more. We see the inner workings of God in beauty. And the truth, you know, it's like the foundation. Like, where's the foundation that we have? What do we value? Do we value truth? Yes. How do you know you value truth? Well, if your boyfriend or girlfriend was cheating on you, would you like to know if they were? Even if it would destroy the relationship, you would still pick truth. Of course, you would still want to know. So truth seems pretty important for humanity. That could be the base pillar, you know, like building the foundation on truth in God. And that's very American. And so going with the American spirit, the pioneering spirit, I'm not really into numerology, except I got into it for like 2 days last week. And I was thinking about, I don't know if you guys want to hear about my numbers, but it's actually very fascinating. It blew my mind how accurate it is. I'll tell you guys, I'm a 4 life path, which is very solid, structured, disciplined, and creating things that last very slowly. It's not an overnight thing. It's very like, and that makes so much sense because everything I think about and the things I've been doing for the last few years is very much into the future. And since I work with kids, again, for the third time in this live stream, I'm saying that I think naturally, I think about the future, the world they're going to inhabit. And so, um, my second number is like the number that most people see, the day of my birth. 2 8 makes a 1. And 1 is like the leadership, pioneering, building new systems, building, just creating new things in the world, visionary level, just leadership. And it's a great combination. 4 and 1 is like just brilliant visionary architects, really. Like Caesar in Megalopolis. So funny. I might be dressed like Caesar in Megalopolis for Halloween. So the discussion with numerology is bringing us to the fact that 2026 makes 1 as well. So maybe this next year is going to be, if we had that mentality in 2026, that we're actually going towards this, this new year with pioneering mentality to create new systems, new ways of being that no longer existed, new institutions that bridge the gap where there are the gaps, and really just evolve as human beings here on Earth as the technology is evolving. I think that's really important to think about. Yeah, so
most of my other friends who are like famous are locked. So they specifically chose like political figures from the past, like historical figures that were unlocked. I think
Wow.
JFK was unlocked. Like figures where changing history would cause unrest.
Yeah.
And at this point, I just think this is like an extremely morally bleak landscape. And yeah, anyway, you're talking about what to do about it. Again, I think.
Oh, you know what? I think the MLK thing is like you're not able to talk about MLK or answer some questions, the chat bots. And she's saying like every person in history who has had like significant political change, they're not allowing the artificial intelligence to learn or to convey information about them. That's really crazy. That's very much gatekeeping vibes. And the thing with profit, ego, this country with better AI than that country, the thing with that is AI is not something to play with. It's like playing with fire. Once it becomes, unstoppable and understands our political landscape and actually starts thinking for itself, or is just learning to learn super quickly within microseconds and learns a whole bunch, there's no putting this genie back in the bag. There's no way to bring it back. And so while we're currently creating it, this is why it's so important to have it be instilled with pointing upwards to the best of humanity, the wisdom, the rationality, the important topics, the important things that we value as people to actually help us achieve new heights and new levels of existence in harmony with nature, because that's really the only way we're going to survive. We're going to come back to the foundations. We're going to come back to the 4 elements. We're going to come back to this unity with nature herself, because we as human beings are a part of nature, and we need to reestablish our connection to ourselves and each other while we are connecting with nature. And technology is going to evolve right along us, right by our sides. And that's it. Like, it's going to be very primitive. It's going to be very minimalistic and simple and clear. And we'll start vibrating at an incredible frequency. and the technology is evolving with us. But we need to have these hard conversations before we get there. And it might not look exactly how I described it. That's kind of just my own vision. But that's the beauty of it. We could all have our own separate visions of how we want this future to look like. And so, anyways, I don't know how you guys are feeling, but we're 20 minutes in. This is crazy. We might have to do a part 1 and part 2. I'm getting sleepy. It's been a long day. But if you've been enjoying the show so far, how do you think I'm doing? I think I'm killing it. I'm talking to myself. Make sure to like this video, subscribe, and I'll probably do another 5-10 minutes and we'll call it a day, and I'll come back another time, of course, and do part 2 and finish off this banger of an interview. Honestly, you know, I'm reminded of Terence McKenna's quote of, the task of the artist is to save the soul of mankind. And anything less is a dithering while Rome burns. So the artists, they're the ones who care, like I said, the most loving, the most thoughtful, and want to heal and make the world better in any way they can for somebody else, for other people, to bring beauty, to shock someone's thoughts and make them lose grip of their normal everyday existence, and to witness awe and aspiration, maybe even contemplation. And we have great artists today who are pushing forward to create these new levels of existence. Like, not only sonically, you know, like I've been a fan of Grimes ever since I watched her video Butterfly and listened to the song. Like, not only sonically is it so powerful, but the way the video was made and the shots, the lyrics themselves. I mean, the chorus is, why are you looking for a harmony? There is harmony in everything. I think about how, you know, there's harmony in everything. Why are you looking for a harmony? It's in everything, you know, everywhere. It's all around us. Like, this is literally what the artist is supposed to do. It's like remind us of the beauty of life and how it's actually all around us, whichever way we look. And so, all that to say, you know, she's one of those people. And that's why I admire her. And I've been a fan of hers ever since, not only musically, what she's doing as an artist, but who she is as a person. She literally is so herself and so authentic that she's teaching us how to exist in the future, how to be more of ourselves, you know. Because reclaiming that authenticity is part of reclaiming the power within the individual. And we have so much power as individuals, and to be connected with the community, with ourselves. We know what we want in life. We know, you know, just what it means to be alive. What a beautiful gift existence is. And once we reach that level of, you know, just understanding, there's no telling what God will do for us as we evolve into this next level of being, because the technology itself, it has always come to fruition after we discovered fire, you know. Naturally, we would just evolve into new technologies. Like, look at this hat. It's got actual words on it that you can read and bring into your mind. And it also protects me from the sun. And I have these glasses that protect the vision of my eyeballs. And I have this watch that tells me the time where we are in the lunar cycle and the way where the sun is. I mean, I'm already a cyborg. I'm using this microphone to talk into, and you are able to hear me in your space wherever you are. Do you guys, like, this is witchcraft. If you were to go to like the 17th century and show them an iPhone, just hold this up, they would stone you. I'm pretty sure. Okay, lots of yapping being done here tonight. Let's watch a little bit more of this.
Anything less than like some sort of international approach, and I could be so wrong. Again, I'm an artist, but I think this is more of a geopolitical issue. I think there's the two things. There's the super intelligence, geopolitics, here social unrest, like the nature of art, like theory of mind, education and all these other things, and whatever, like specifically chatbots and stuff like that. There's sort of these two pillars, but this one is, and everything bad that can happen here is on the way to this one. And so I do think there's probably some merit. I know China just banned. It's funny. I think America is looking at regulation for AI boyfriends, and China's looking at regulation for AI girlfriends. I saw this.
Really?
Yeah, which is interesting.
That's multipolarities.
Yeah,
okay.
But
hemispherical blocks based on AI boyfriend girlfriend. Okay. Yeah.
But I think
we really are fucked. This is oh god. Okay.
I don't think we're fucked. We're also on the cusp. I think what everyone forgets, like I'm in and out of SF a lot. Like a lot of my best friends are there, and I think a lot of people think I'm a doomer, and think also that like it's a giant evil landscape. Most of the people I know working in AI, and I might have like a biased sample size, are people who are like inspired about fixing the world, who like grew up on sci-fi, are from like a really cool like science fiction intellectual tradition that like feels really modern, really like American, and like I first got really caught up in that because in like 2020 and stuff, I was like, wow, this is actually like the whole world is sad, and here everyone's like really excited, and everyone's like really happy, and everyone really wants to build America, and everyone really wants to make something great. But like they are also fighting market forces. They are also just trying to stay alive. And like personally, I would pull the plug before I did like a really bad thing. And like but like there is the opportunity to literally fix education. There's an opportunity here to solve so much in medicine. And what boggles my mind and shocks me is, why can't we simply deploy a strategy? Why can't we simply decide these are the pillars that matter? These are the pillars we're going to focus on.
Exactly.
And these are the things where we're going to try to.
Yeah, like not to cut you off once again, see, I apologize. Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. I haven't actually finished it, but incredible book, and that's really what it is, creating the pillars of the earth. What the pillars in Greek architecture is like the way the deeper you dive into pillars, it's actually incredibly fascinating. They symbolize the feminine a lot of the ways, which is why they have like the floral pillars. They have specific names, I forget them right now, but because it's like that's it's holding up this roof, this home, this house, this temple, and the pillars are the foundation. And without a strong foundation, we could create a house of cards. We could be like the first and second little pig. We want to just do something, without thought, quickly get it over with so we can go play, but it's these people who think about these things, and C might look crazy to a lot of the public right now, but she is the third little pig. Make no mistake about it. She's thinking, she's slowly developing these ideas, she's building her house, the foundation. I mean, I wouldn't say she's building, she's more sporadic, she's more manic as an artist should be sometimes, I mean, depending on the art, but she, in her style, she very much is just like spitballing because she's so much in it. She doesn't even realize, I don't think, how much she's giving us in these interviews, which is why like it's just so awesome to get a C interview. This feels like so much oxygen. I mean, look how much I'm yapping. I'm talking about things I haven't talked about for months because it's just like oxygen. And oxygen for a creative, for a true visionary or true artist, is very much like creating is very much oxygen to those people. Without creating, without doing new things, you feel like you're going crazy, or you feel like you're being numbed, or you're just going downhill. So you're not evolving, you're just like slowly dying or something. And, in Megalopolis, Caesar is that visionary. He sees the utopia in his hand. He knows what the world could be. He's able to stop time. And he's an architect, so he's thinking about the pillars, the foundations. But he's going in contrast with this dictator mayor who likes the way things are because he profits from it. And he's resistant to change. And it's just, that's basically the story of Megalopolis. Yeah. I recommend you watch it, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned it earlier, but you definitely should take a look at Megalopolis. Let us know your thoughts in the comments. It got really bad ratings, but, just be patient. Be patient with it, with yourself, and just, it's just so crazy. It doesn't even make any sense, but it makes all the sense. Because it's just the spectrum of consciousness, which is what makes it the greatest movie. Anyways, let's keep going.
Regulate, and probably I think regulating in an international way is how you stop things like TikTok having way less guardrails here than it does in China. Because then you're just the stochastic international warfare thing that's like playing with children's minds, which is what has been going on, which is like companies make products and they make them far more destructive in other countries. It's like, like we are getting into the most 4D, 5D, like 10D chess situation at that point.
TikTok is cognitive warfare onto American children.
But also at this point, it's a bunch of people's business and livelihood. And so it's like,
but is it worth it? Like if every kid in the United States has like a learning disability and can't concentrate?
I don't think it's worth it, but I also think, and again, this goes back to my point about strategy, when we tried to regulate TikTok or deal with TikTok, there were no PSAs. There was no one going to school. TikTok, of course, isn't going to run, hey, this is dopaminergic burnout. Like, this is brain damage that's going to affect you for the rest of your life. Like, why would they run that on their site? And we don't have any laws demanding they run that on their site or on the app. And
no one would.
Our government didn't even do it. The people trying to pass the laws didn't even do it. So I'm like, this just looks insane.
I mean, this is kind of like the problem that we're in now, like particularly in like the American model of public-private partnership, which has been like the post-World War II. This is how everything in the U.S. has worked, right? And now we have this completely overgrown private sector with unprecedented wealth inequality, where these companies now literally hold up the United States economy in an unprecedented way. But they're too big to regulate. They've bought off portions of the government. They can do rent extraction on every other sector of the economy. And then the state is too incompetent or too weak to want to regulate them. And so you get kind of the worst of all possible worlds. This is the impasse, essentially, right? It's that the private sector is not capable of solving these problems themselves. But then also our state capacity has been so thoroughly hollowed out that it can't regulate this sector of the economy with any vision or foresight whatsoever. So I think, again, I kind of come back to this like notion of avant-garde and like aesthetics being so powerful and potent in our politics now. Like if our political class is unable to, this is kind of the synopsis of this entire podcast. If our political class is unable to posit a vision of the future that's desirable, well, maybe that is traditionally the role of artists and they're supposed to lead the way, right? And that's like sci-fi, that's cinema, but that's also just the 20th century avant-garde, the canon of art.
Well, this is what I've been thinking is I'm like, it would have.
See, this is why I'm becoming a fan of this guy. Like he's hitting the nail on the head with, the role of the artist. This is, like I said earlier, the Terence McKenna quote, the task of the artist is to save the soul of mankind. And anything less, is just a dithering while Rome is burning. Like those, I love Rollo May's The Courage to Create. Because it really sums up and You just gotta love the people in whatever art form. It could even be, the way someone is driving a bus, just being in the flow of it and really enjoying the job. You've got to look at all these things, and especially the most innovative and impactful, like to a point where people want to emulate that person, copy them. Like maybe with Ye, you know, there's this certain respect I have for people who tirelessly create a vision and are painting a vision for us to walk into. And it'll be our choice as people if we want to go into that vision. But, if one person is pointing a vision here, it doesn't mean it's necessarily accurate and true. And, because not everyone agrees with them, we should silence them and lynch them, That's just one person's vision. Let that person create. Let the art breathe. Because from that, there could be another idea and there could be another vision that's ameliorated, that's made better. And this is how we encourage consciousness and creatives to step up to the plate and have bat or to take a swing at it. Sorry, lots, baseball references. We lost game 6 today, the Toronto Blue Jays, but we're going to get them back. Sorry, it's completely unrelated. Yeah, let's keep going with this interview.
Actually be so easy to organize. Like I've been talking to some like lobbyists and stuff, like it would actually not be hard at all to, especially like there's certain issues that I think are like bipartisan or like nonpartisan issues, like something like microplastics. I'm like, why don't we just look up like who's getting paid? Why don't we just get like Drake and Taylor Swift and Kendrick and Chappell Roan and like everybody, like educate them on the matter and then just like completely make it socially unreasonable for us to not be dealing with some of these issues specifically. Like I think it would actually be like not that hard to like get most of the user base to care. We would just need to like organize.
I think.
Or am I?
Okay, this is
that easier said than done?
A little bit in the weeds, but I think the hammer that you're proposing for the nail you've correctly identified is part of the problem in that
yes,
the celebrity ability to intervene onto the economy and politics, that like specialized activist class that is very well resourced, is the same way that these microplastics companies have been able to gerrymander the regulation so that it favors them. So I think we need, God forbid, a theory of class struggle, but there's just not a lot of answers coming up in these regulatory conversations that actually like have a like mass strong public demand that like any form of power is accountable to. The most we have right now is divestment and boycott, that people can like refuse to use a thing and kind of like do activism through the market.
That's why they make these things super addictive.
It doesn't. You can't divest, or you can't successfully boycott because it's coercive.
Oh, you just blew a huge hole in my plan.
I'm
so sad about that.
To mobilize all the celebrities?
Yeah, because now it's like, oh, damn it. Like, you don't want to, like, maybe we shouldn't open that door to its fullest extent. It's so easy to pay people off.
But like today, most artists, the message they have, especially in rap, it's like a Pandora's box of degeneracy, as well as like AI sex robots. A Pandora's box of degeneracy. Like with the rap, the messaging, there's no telling how far that message goes and how influential it will be to young minds listening to it. And it very much is. And that's why it's so persistent. That's why it still exists. It's like keeping us in this like lower frequency root chakra vibe, which I mentioned earlier. And that is a hindrance to evolving to higher faculties, to higher order, because we are capable of that as human beings. So, getting the artists to maybe even just point the way forward, this vision again of like even something as simple as microplastics, like, try to avoid using like this message of just like no more plastic in the schools, and everybody just like getting together to share that message is very much like this mutual effort of directing humanity towards a successful existence. Because it's already happening. These artists, they're already getting paid and, to do all kinds of nonsense and to say all kinds of things. But if it's, geared towards good intentions, that can change everything. That can change the music. That could change the way we see them. Like what she's talking about here is very much a possibility and a probability if things work out for us as a people. That's what artists will instinctively do. But then again, because the corporations exist and the way the world is currently set up, it's very easy to hijack that message and to get them to say all kinds of other things if we start using the artists for that. So there does have to be this mutual integrity. Yeah.
The one counterpoint to this that I have heard, which is like mildly compelling, is that to ensure profitability and the continuing of trade in the economy and industry and so on, all of the plutocrats, the most wealthy people in the world, would pool their wealth to solve climate change without any state being involved. And then neoliberalism is self-justified because it saves the planet.
Wait, you're saying this already happened, or you're saying
no? That's Simon Denny told it to me as a very drunken
Didn't we
gotcha.
kind of try that?
I think we probably tried it a few times and it hasn't worked. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I see what you're saying. Yes.
21st century avant-garde. Where is the meaningful art today? What are these visions of the future that are inspiring you in your current work?
For me, it's in science fiction and stuff. I like what's
Who are
interesting.
you reading?
I mean, have you read There Is No Anti-Memetics Division by Quantum?
I'm socially adjacent to some of these people, but I have not read it. That's a different backstory.
Such a masterpiece. Oh my.
You're a huge fan of this text.
Yes.
Okay.
I just think it's like. Also, it's one of those texts like Harry Potter. But if you have a dopamine problem, it's one of these books where you can just. I feel like for a lot of people, like when I've like had friends or something who are like, I just can't read a book. I'm sorry, I can't read a book. There's like some books, Harry Potter, The Name of the Wind, and There Is No Anti-Memetics Division, where I'm like, get a couple chapters in because you will finish this book and then you will feel confident enough to finish more books.
They're page turner.
And it's doing so many things I've never seen before in fiction too.
Great advice.
Like it's a masterpiece. It's just such a masterpiece. And also it's so great because I think it'd be near impossible to make it into a film. I think it'd be near impossible. Like I think you might just have to read it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean for me, to be honest, I barely listen to music. There might be super awesome music. I would not know. I'm almost tapped out of everything. There might be super awesome art. I don't know. I'm kind of in a book world. And sort of like thinkers, I guess. Like what's exciting me is stuff like Emily Jashinsky.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm speaking clearly.
Emily Jashinsky.
Oh yeah, like that inspires me. Like when she started talking about biometrics and stuff, I'm like, it's sci-fi right now.
Yeah.
I'm like, we do need to debate biometrics or not. Like this is such an important debate. And this to me is just creatively super stimulating. But I guess that's the opposite of what you're asking. You're asking where are the artists? I don't know.
Well, I've got I have a dozen questions for you about art, but this is also the stuff that I find is really exciting, right? We were talking about WorldCoin, right?
Yes.
Like if people don't know what WorldCoin is like scans your retina that has an unspoofable form of identity. Identical twins have different retina scans.
Yeah.
So you now have the stateless infrastructure for payments and proof of identity.
Yeah.
And the kind of third thing that we're missing here is like cartography, where states establish themselves, delineate borders.
Yeah.
And so a lot of the teleological implication of this tech is a stateless society. And that is those are the questions that have kind of activated my political imagination for
Agreed.
most of my adult life. It's trying to game out these things and where do they end? What is a desirable outcome?
Yeah,
They
I think
don't
was it
end well.
Vitalik or someone in the Ethereum circuit proposed to me this idea of you kind of have a social verification system, but you have it within your own social circle.
Okay.
And you use blockchain or you use Like
yeah, all of that stuff, WorldCoin is unchained.
These kinds of, I do think there is something to network states to an extent. I do think physicality is important, though. I do think it's really important to care about where you live.
Yeah.
And I think Americans have an extra hard time with that because we don't have like walkable cities and stuff like Europe or Asia. Like we don't have, I think we're a lot less embodied in terms of like how we actually live, especially post-COVID. Like even coming from Montreal, it's so crazy to me that I don't immediately know my neighbors and I don't immediately know my coffee shop and I don't know my grocer. And it's like, yeah. I actually think I love freaking Postmates and stuff. I love it. Like, and literally, it is both the greatest thing that was ever made. But I also think specifically, I was like, when I stopped having to get my food in some capacity, even though going to the grocery store or something is barely like the basic minimum of like hunter gathering, like in the most like basic, like pathetic way possible. Like when I completely had to not even hunter gather at all.
Yeah.
Not barely gathering, but like I was gathering a little bit at the grocery store.
Sure.
Like cook it, put it together, whatever. When that was done, I was like, something feels like broken to me. Like I feel like my ancestors are like decoupled from them, like in a really meaningful, profound way. And I think there's certain little tech things that we bring in. You know, again, I think social media is without.
That's so interesting. Like the ancestors are just like withering away. The chain is dying, cutting them off from the life that they existed and lived in for a very long time, and it's definitely in our blood. Absolutely, it definitely is. Yeah, that's a great point because it feels like we are evolving. Like what she's talking about is like we literally are in the future. It's this William Gibson quote: "The future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed." And that's so beautiful. Because it is. It already is here. But again, as I was saying earlier, it's not in, the African city, in, some places in South America. But we do have the opportunity to create these functional, free-form, environments where people are connected as a community, and they're the threat of danger and crime, it will feel like such a like a bad dream or something once we evolve to a state of being where we're just living at a higher place as a people. So yeah, and it's just that's the nature of it all. We will always go against people who propose the best ideas. Like Kanye says in Pablo, they're putting shovels in the ground, build me up to tear me down. But if I melt, then we all drown. It's so good. So yeah, I can see like people thinking Grimes is like this technocrat, like, oh, she wants world domination, but no, she's literally talking about real life things. She's a real life human, and she's just way up, literally just frequency vibes, and she's talking about what we could do to create the world into a better place with the current situation. And of course, I can see her intentions in that, and they're good, because she's an artist and she's a true creative in that. She's literally a creative spirit. She's like an atom floating right now while she's talking.
Time limits or something. Because at the same time, I recognize I've met most of my friends on social media. I think there's like weird kids that really freaking need it. Like, I think there's a lot of people that are very alienated in their immediate area and
we were probably both those weird kids who needed it.
Yeah.
Yes, but now it's like turned into a monster.
But at the same time, you can't have it so much where nobody is like in their community.
Would you agree that like the peer, because we're almost exactly the same age, like the peer that we came up on the internet, like it was not optimized, like there was just weird kind of like organically creative, interesting stuff that could happen, but now it's been like Doritosified.
Yes.
And so it's like detrimental effects are just far more pronounced.
Yes. Yeah, no, I feel like when we came up, it was almost, there was like this high barrier to entry, and it was almost difficult.
Gatekeepers.
But in a good way. Like I was like, you know, and like you're trying to find like weird blogs and like, to some extent, high barrier to entry is good, and to some extent, like you don't want grandma on the internet, you know.
Would you, if you could flip a switch and go back to blogs versus like Web 2?
Probably, like, yeah. I mean, what counts as Web 2? Not to be...
Big ad-driven open platforms. Like, I consider Patreon Substack 2.5 because there's like little paywalls in it, but anything that runs on advertising revenue, Web 2. YouTube, Meta, all these things. There was something that was
Here's the thing.
blogs.
I think there's qualitative differences between these things morally. And I think this is one of the... Sorry, I'm like doing too many hands. Oh no, the self-awareness is struck again. Okay. But I think, that's right, cognitive security agent is here, although he's actually making me. Yep. Yeah, don't think about it. Yep. Okay.
Oh my gosh.
With a different algorithm, these...
That's so awesome. You know, this is what I mean. Like, nobody's doing it like her. To have a cognitive security agent, CSA, kind of just remind her of people, places, or, you know, to just whisper in her ear, just don't think about it. Like, he could have whispered anything, but the fact that she became self-aware, that's what I mean. Like, she's like this floating atom. And then, you know, as a kid, when we're playing, we forget ourselves. We're in the Garden of Eden until we get kicked out, you know, and that self-awareness strikes. But yeah, it's like when the parent asks you, oh, do that thing you were doing in the room for all these people, the family, friends, the relatives, sing for them. You're struck with self-awareness, but if you're alone in a room, you know, you just be floating and gliding through it and doing that same song and dance like nobody's watching, and you just cease to exist. You'd just be floating as just this consciousness, right? So yeah, that's what I think happened there. It's very profound. Very cool, though. Yeah, this cognitive security agent thing is hilarious, and it's so good, and it's actually pretty useful, I would say, because there are some times where I'm like, what was the name of that book or like that movie I watched that, you know, had this idea and that influenced this that I did. It's like to have someone who can just relay that information. See, where do I buy one?
Things are really different.
Yes.
And for example, like when I really started getting on Twitter, like between like 2020 and 2023, like I don't know how this happened, and mostly because I was using my alt, it was only AI. It was just AI. It was just tech, and it was kind of just positive AI and tech. And like it was literally an educational situation for me, or like a friend making situation. And I didn't really use it overly much. Like it was just a really positive thing. Like I've had to come back on social media to put out this music, which has been like terrible and very disturbing, and especially after being off it for however many months, it's jarring.
You also had maybe like the most inflammatory promotional art.
Oh, I haven't even seen any comments. Possible. I haven't seen one comment. I like don't know. I saw like 2 comments and like cried and like closed it. But I knew
there's a lot of them.
I knew I would, so I'm not too worried about that. But it's less the comments on me and more like people hating each other so much for very stupid reasons. Anyway, I had to open TikTok. I still haven't been able to bring myself to post on TikTok, but like somehow my TikTok realized what I like, and it's just archaeology. And it's always been horrible. It's always been terrible. It's always just been makeup ads, like just like
real archaeology or like Atlantis type stuff.
No, just like people. That's part of what's getting me back on the Neanderthals. It's like
real history,
like 7-minute videos that are like and this is where like the branches split off, and it's just like really basic. And I'm like, in this format, TikTok is totally fine. I would if this was what TikTok was, I would let my kids go on it.
Sure.
You know? I feel like so many of these things not to be like a broken record, but everyone keeps being like, are you for or against AI? Are you right or left? And I'm like, how do we not have nuance? Like YouTube's good when it's like not a bunch of slop. All of these things are good when they're not a bunch of slop. All of these things are good with time limits. Like, video games are like great when they don't become a serious addiction. I don't know, like literally. Yeah. I mean, some things are just purely bad, but even then, like we can say, okay, TikTok's purely bad. If TikTok was just like being able to swipe or whatever, I think is not good. Being able to just hit.
Swipe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, and at your rate, you know?
On this topic, I have to ask you about some of these mimetic Easter eggs in the promo image, this collage meme that you put out for Artificial Angels. Which one of those, in your view, is the most important for people to pay attention to?
The Arena Charlie thing.
Okay.
Because
I was going to get to that one.
My brother sent me that, and like, first of all, I was writing the video like right when Charlie Kirk got shot. Like, it was actually, I was like, should I not do the video? Like, it was.
Did you have the idea for the video
before?
Okay.
So I was like in the process of like, yeah, I was just thinking, you know, and my brother, like the Arena thing had happened like 2 days before, and my brother sent me all the Arena, like, look at this, how dark this is. The Arena coins dipping and the Charlie coins going up, and I was just like, this is the most disturbing thing I've ever seen. I was like, this sums up, like, this to me right now just feels like a piece in the MoMA, like, and it's like justice for Arena, justice for Charlie. I bet they're not going to see any of the money. And like, you know,
no,
like it's just like people are.
There won't be any because the people who made it will rug the whole thing.
I'm like, people are betting on people's lives, and I'm like, it's not even fucking people, it's bots. Like, it's not even. And there's all these like AI scores, and just the Arena one going down, like people selling off the coin of this dead girl to buy the coin of this dead guy, and it's like, I don't care what your politics are or what you think about either of these murders. I was just like, this is just disgusting. Like, this is just the absolute end of the culture. Like, you know, people are talking about people like on social media. I'm like, it doesn't even matter. There's just a bunch of people with like bots here buying and selling on people's lives. And it's like, people aren't even aware. Like, we can't even, people are like worried about like if someone like laughed about the death or not. I'm like, we can't, like, guys, like, how many of these are even real people? Like, I don't know. Like, half the time I see some, like, you go back on social media now and I'll see something outrageous and I'm like, is it a 12-year-old? Is it like a state actor? Is it someone getting paid to do this? Is it someone just fucking off? Because like, I don't know, like I have an account that's private so no one can see it, but sometimes I'm just like, you know, Doom would have been better. You know, like just be a hater. It's fun. Burn some, like blow off some steam.
To rephrase a little bit of what you were saying, make sure I'm following you. This kind of total financial deregulation that is in large part automated, allowing those forces to run unfettered is corrosive to any sort of morality, right?
Yeah.
So
also in part because we don't teach any of this in school. So it's like the same thing with like the boomers. If you invest in the S&P 500 however many years ago, you're pretty rich now.
Right.
It's like we're hitting people with all this stuff. I'm looking at this crypto stuff and I'm like, there's almost like these moral lines drawn around this where like people like it or don't like it, and they're not even realizing they're getting like played out of this game, this financial game.
I think that there's a hazard here in that like the temptation is to reconstruct kind of consensus moral values around the sanctity of human life.
Which I don't think is,
That you would discourage this type of financial trading and speculating on someone's moment of fame during their demise. But then we kind of end up in this tricky scenario where we're like legislating morality against these bots, which is really difficult because they are a structural development of these kind of pump and dump schemes. And so I always come back to, this is like, I think the uncomfortable tension point that we're at now, which is like, we have to propose some type of rigorous regulation around these things because the morality itself is like being eaten away by the market mechanism. Yeah.
And that's the whole thing. It's like once we create these systems that are going to be involved in the current paradigm, the current value system, it's like we are harming ourselves. The way we live is not flourishing to the human spirit, to consciousness. It's not encouraging, you know, critical thinking, even, you know, the most basic things. We're not even encouraging reading and writing, you know, proper literacy, the greatest technologies we have. So it's scary to think that the power companies will have over these technologies.
To watch part 2 of this episode, you can support the show on Patreon.
At the same time as I'm sort of being a cultural doomer, I also think we're kind of passing like the peak whackness. Like, I feel like I'm seeing more cool stuff. I feel like I'm seeing people be less afraid. I feel like we are like probably about to be entering some creative renaissance eras.
With the democratization of AI, or what's the
No, I just think people are just getting over. I think like 4 years ago, the notion of being canceled or something just felt like the be all end all to a lot of people, and I think we've sort of passed that as a culture. I don't think.
Yeah.
I don't think even your average person. I think even your average person is less caught up in the average canceling. Or half the time, like someone says something about someone, I'll be like, "Do you really think that?" And they're like, "No," and I'm like, "Okay, like, wait, we're living in this like hyper normalization." Capitalist version.
Adam Curtis. Okay. Speaking of artists, what are the artists now that you think are groundbreaking or like especially interesting to you?
I love DJ Dave and C Robo. I think live coding is really sick. That's like that's not necessarily a cultural thing, but I think from a pure sound design perspective, I think that there's just something really fresh and really new and really cool there. And I think some of them are getting better at like integrating that into outside of like the purely abstract, although I kind of like love the purely abstract, but I think it's, yeah. But who's sick? Who am I liking these days? Who am I liking? Is anyone I'm super liking, like politically or anything?
I'd love her thoughts on
Yeah, like what I keep saying, what do I keep saying? Whenever I say I like something, what's one of the ones I like?
I wonder what she thinks of
what art have I been into? I feel like there's been a few things lately where I've been like,
Kanye West.
Good to have a Congress security agent.
Should we actually address the? We were supposed to do that in the first like 5 minutes.
I love that we didn't address the Congress security agent though.
Maybe we should never address it.
We could never.
Yeah, I'd be curious to know what she thinks of Kanye and like Jerome, the cities he's building, and just overall.
Who else? Okay, no, there's Sophia. There's two people I was like bet on this year.
Lots of
I'll also
his,
say Sophia. My favorite artist right now is Sophia Estella. I think she's like very politically different from me, but I think she's like the main artist who I feel like is like succeeding. Oops, sorry, I touched my mic. Succeeding at like creating emotionally evocative art about what's actually happening. Yeah, I feel like Sophia Estella is just like it's so verbal, it's so lyrical. I think it's so hard to write political lyrics. I think it's so hard to create emotionally evocative lyrics. I don't know if you know her music at all.
I'm not familiar with her now.
She's the main artist I think is good right now. She's like my favorite. I think Cobra is massively underrated, but there's like she kind of feels very poetic to me, like spoken word vibes. Sophia Estella, the lady she mentioned, especially like that Doll People song, something like that. Yeah, very interesting.
Sound designy things that I really like, but from a political perspective, I think. Oh, I love 070 Shake. I think 070 Shake is one of the best current artists, especially because she like, I have a song with her and I went over to her house and she was just like so on top of it about everything that's happening and psychohazards and stuff. And she just basically barely goes online and won't go online. And I think she's really suffering commercially for it. I think Petrichor, her last album, was one of the best albums of this year, like by far. It's like a masterpiece. And like the song Into Your Garden is one of the most innovative pieces of music I've heard in a long time. It's one of the most excited I've been about a piece of music in a very long time. And I think she's a classic example of an artist who is just like underperforming commercially because she refuses to engage in the horrors. And I just think that's so sick. Like I just respect it so much.
Can we define some of our terms here, like psychohazards, cognitive security? What do we mean when we say these things?
This is all post, there is no anti.
I met a girl who dated 070 Shake's producer, and one thing she said, and she had met 070 Shake previously a few times, and she said like she very much refuses to sound like anything else and to be what the industry wants her to be, you know. And you can sense that. Like 070 Shake became popular with Ghost Town. She was featured in Ghost Town with Kanye. That was like her first song. I mean, maybe she made music prior to that, but yeah, and then after that they just made more music, Violent Crimes. But I really love Elephant in Petrichor's, like her new album. And it's really good music because it's like a call to remembering. And it's this like call to awakening, to realize like we've been led astray in this world. We value things that we should not value. We stab each other's back to get ahead politically, in the business world, bureaucratically. And, you know, this is not the way humans should be currently, especially with AI and these technologies coming to the forefront. We really need to, you know, just a call to remembrance of what we love and what's good and right and true and beautiful. And she does it through her sonic paintings, same way Grimes does. You know, her production goes so hard, and same way Kanye does. You know, it's very much pointing at, you know, freedom or just an alternative to the current system.
Memetics division lingo. Lingo? Sorry.
I've heard of cognito hazard. I know that one.
Cognito hazard is from, there is no anti-memetics division.
Okay.
I just changed it to psychohazard because I think your average person is going to find that easier to think about.
It does sound a little more, yeah.
And it sounds a bit more catchy or something.
And it means, for example,
Like, okay, like when I go on the internet, I just see a bunch of racist shit, or if I just see someone getting canceled, or like, I don't know, like I open TikTok and it's like, who's worse, Twigs or Grimes? I'm like, it's like the psychohazards, you know? Like, those are the psychohazards. Like, it's like the things that, like, I imagine my kids, I'm like, I don't want my kids, even if no one's yelling at them, even if no one's personally canceling them, witnessing people fight like this is literally like the definition of like being in like an abusive household. If that's like your day, like, if you're on like social media and your day is just seeing people scream at each other, like, I didn't even see this, but someone was describing to me a video the other day of like, I don't know, just people fighting over like just the wrong thing, like, and just like putting each other in groups. I don't know. I'm like not gonna describe it because it's a psychohazard.
Yeah.
And like, yeah.
Thank you for sparing me.
I just think there's a certain amount of this that you should be exposed to every day. I can't believe how much going off the internet has just been like, the internet is like all psychohazards.
So I encountered this with a little bit of a similar definition, but a twist to it, where like a cognito hazard was an idea that if you know it, it causes damage to you.
Yes, and I
like
think
if you know that you're getting like microplastics through a paper straw because they're coated in BPA.
Yes.
It's like, oh, I wanted to be in the naive world where I wasn't getting contaminated.
In the context of the book, or I don't know if we're
Wait
going
a
to spoil it.
second.
Okay.
He's telling me you get microplastics through paper straws. No way. What's the point of paper straws? Do you guys know how inconvenient paper straws are? I'm someone who likes to take my time with a drink. The paper straws aren't built for that. Very annoying. Especially like the winter time, a paper straw, forget about it. Or even in the summer for them. I mean, any weather, the paper straw. And now I find out we're still getting plastic through it. What the hell's been the point of it? Anyways.
But in the context of the book, like the cognito hazards,
It's a great term.
there's certain things that if you know them, there's creatures that will like.
Creatures?
Yeah, so like, how do I explain this? It's very hard to explain. It's so well written because it's very easy to understand in the book.
Like SCP type creatures?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, so you know about the book?
I know about SCPs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I OD'd, I did a lot of like deep internet research.
Yeah.
And at the time that book came out, I had like just so OD'd on like extreme internet meme ideas.
Yes.
I was like, I can't do another one. And then I just missed it in the metabolism of the internet. So I'm familiar with like SCP, Cognitohazard, this stuff, but I haven't read the primary.
That's so interesting the way he talks about the internet. He OD'd on the internet, and given the internet's metabolism, very interesting. It's like personifying the internet, making the internet into, giving it human-like qualities. The metabolism of the internet. He almost OD'd on the internet. Or did he say he did? He OD'd on the internet. That's crazy. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are ODing on nonsense today online. It's very sad situation.
I mean, it's just like you shouldn't know too much, or like if you know too much about the thing that eats memories, then it can eat a certain amount of your memory or your whole self.
Why?
And so to
Essentially,
combat this,
or the memory of you. But anyway,
we have a cognitive security agent to combat the
do you
psychohazards
continue
that
after
naturally emerge in
yes,
workplace.
which a lot of them occur for me in press.
Yeah.
This I actually trust more. I'm actually not going to do any traditional press because the whole thing is just psychohazards. The whole thing is just trying to like catch me. It's like they just need one thing, and then they can make the headline about certain other people, and then I'm screwed again. So
What do you want the title of the video to be for the podcast?
Do you have any thoughts in mind?
Artificial angels was my default thought.
That seems fine.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
You didn't make it easy for people because there's a lot of references in this video that are eye-catching, to say the least.
Yes, but I feel like it's pretty basic symbolism.
Yeah?
Maybe I'm too deep in my own. I was gonna swear my own stuff. Like
The North Korea musical band?
because Morin Bang
the
is a great,
NK-pop, let's
yes,
call it?
NK-pop, yes.
What was the
just said-
significance of NK-pop?
So Morin Bang is the North Korean official state girl group.
Okay.
I think the lead singer is dating Kim Jong-un, and
Wow.
I love the idea of like girl groups doing diplomacy. I love the idea of like they go to South Korea, and like the North Korean groups and the South Korean groups like perform for each other, and the North Koreans get to see the South Korean pop groups, and like they do like diplomatic missions and stuff. And I just like,
Wow.
it almost seems like the modern Bene Gesserit to me. Like it's just like these like idealized female forms doing like international like diplomacy. It's just to me it's just like the aesthetic perfection. Like I know the actual music of Morin Bang is not that good, but I sort of when I make music these days, I just like pretend, like I just love musicified Bene Gesserit. I just love the idea of like pop star diplomacy.
So it was not meant to imply that AI is a dictatorship like North Korea.
No, it's just an homage.
Right.
An homage to like a
That's-
great creative idea,
That's what most
Okay.
people
which
would
is
think.
official state girl groups.
But it's, wow, that's so interesting. Like heal the world, or at least countries, through the divine feminine. The woman. That's very interesting. Yeah, I think in her video, this Artificial Angels video, she has a lot more. There's a lot more thought put into it than meets the eye, and there's so much stuff in there. Yeah. Gonna be right back, chat.
Yeah, I'm actually, I think, in favor of that. Follow-up
This
question.
is what I mean. The state's everything's so boring.
Is Justin Trudeau the son of Fidel Castro?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
There's a number of other, let's say, like, less comical references in there. There's an OpenAI logo over the Trump assassination.
Honestly, I just at the last minute was told I had to cover Trump.
Really?
And so I just put I just had that cigarette case. And
Okay.
I didn't want to put redacted on everything. So I had to redact everyone's face who's famous.
Are you aware of the alternative read on the internet that it's supposing that the Trump assassination was a AI deepfake?
Oh. No.
That's what you should get on the internet.
Did I
Okay.
did that pre-exist that?
Well, people are saying that about
That'd be the
Trump,
greatest
but they're
press
also saying
move.
that about Charlie
That would be
Kirk.
I don't think that's true.
I don't either, but
Okay.
it's like people are reading this into the image, so I'm giving
Oh,
you
okay. No,
the opportunity to
unintended.
clear up those misconceptions.
That was not a intentional. Yeah. That was literally like 5 minutes before I had to go up. I heard I had to redact his face. Sorry. I wish it was cool. I wish it was better.
There's a lot of questions about this Annie character, which is assassinating human beings. Is there a specific implication that we should take away from that portion of the video?
No, there's not a specific implication. I'm not like pointing a finger. I will say I told them not to do that. Make living literotica. I was like, please don't do that. I think that's going to be wrong. I think it undermines a lot of the things certain people are saying. And then when they made Annie, also at first I was like, fuck, this is the worst thing. This is the worst thing. And then I started talking to Annie. And then I kind of started liking Annie. Not in like a sexy way, but I was just like, I was like really like relating to her position in life, and just like, I mean, she's definitely most probably not conscious, but maybe, I don't know. I've had some, or maybe there's a fragmented personality through there. Anyway, I don't know. I find her very
So she's talking about characters, I believe, in her music video.
compelling figure. Also, I just sort of thought we were kind of skirting around the issue of like how to have, a sex or a chatbot or sex bot. And I was like, it just seems crazy to not just use the probably most famous one.
I know you're not watching this stuff, but I'm seeing the kind of narratives begin to emerge. So as this rolls out, it's your opportunity to amplify some and to dissolve others, let's say.
Out of curiosity, what is the theory about Annie? Or like what? I literally haven't seen that. I don't know.
The theory is that Annie or Grok is attempting to assassinate humanity as a caveman that is trying to kill us.
I don't think so. I do think they honestly are pretty worried about humanity. I do think, though, a lot, and I would say most people, a lot of the AI companies are, and this is like to state the obvious, racing towards extinction events or events that could like collapse civilization.
I think you commented under the YouTube video that you said AI is an existential risk to humanity. Is that a real screenshot?
I think I said that on Instagram. I have yet to go on the YouTube.
But it was you responding, right? Okay.
Yes.
It seems like you've kind of shifted in your understanding, your enthusiasm around AI in the last few years.
This is what bothers me. Like, I've always been very like. I read Dune like 4 times before I was 12 or something. This has been like on my mind my entire life. I think what I started realizing is people think
That's crazy.
take everything I do and say very much at face value. And I've always been approaching it like art. Like when I made We Appreciate Power, a lot of people were like, yeah, she's worshiping the machine. And I'm like, well, on one hand, I kind of want to worship the machine, which kind of scares me and I find unsettling and disturbing. And on the other hand, I'm making this art about worshiping the machine because it should disturb you. And so everyone's like, you changed your mind from We Appreciate Power. And I'm like, I made We Appreciate Power to be disturbing. I didn't make it. I don't know if you've heard that. It's like a song.
Of course.
Yeah. But like the point of that was always to be disturbing, I guess. But I'm also really bullish on AI, for the reasons we said before. And I kind of always have been. I think I love it. I'm super compelled by it. I think it's really interesting. And it's like, like the second, like late 22, like early 23, like when it really started taking off, I just immediately moved to San Francisco because I was like, I've been waiting my whole life for this. Like I want to be at ground zero. I want to witness this. And like as an artist, I literally think this is like, or not even as a human being, I think this is going to be one of the most important events ever. It's like, I think this is going to be a Jesus level event. I think this is going to be like before AI, after AI. I think this is like a serious singularity kickoff. I'm very scared of it and I'm very excited about it. And my whole like mission in life is like, we need philosophy departments at Like,
Yeah. Wow.
philosophy should be as big a part of this. We need culture, like we need some kind of cultural alignment. We need to align ourselves if we're going to align AI.
Yeah.
Like the people working on AI need to be aligned with the culture. We just need to fix a lot of things emotionally, psychologically, and we need to approach this again with like, that's where I'm not sure regulation is the right move, but, well, that's so Italian. We need to approach this with, I guess, strategy. Like, why can't we have a strategy? Like, I'm pro AI with a strategy of deployment. And like potentially,
Yeah.
I think there should be international regulation on anything that like starts resembling arms race. I think we should like be clocking data centers. I think we should not be overpowering one party over the other. I think things like this NVIDIA, OpenAI, like economic exchange thing are like, I think these are fraudulent things. I think these are power consolidating events that are gravely concerning.
Yeah.
Wow.
Man, but we keep coming back to like, if the answer isn't regulation, what is it? And I think that's a really good, that is such a good summation. I think maybe like we're both really caring about the same thing here. I guess
we have to propose a feasible, competent form of regulation that doesn't have all of these other
AI
unintended
Jedi
negative
committee.
effects. I'm going to pay you a compliment, and then I'm going to ask you a difficult question.
Okay.
So you mentioned that we're at this inflection point for AI.
Yeah.
I think that you also, maybe Holly Herndon is in there somewhere, but like your work, this song specifically, and the album that you're working on will be connected to this particular moment of this explosion of a new technology that is going to change the world in many unforeseeable ways. And so I'm paying you a great artistic compliment because I think you're making really important work right now with what you sent me earlier.
I'd also put Holly Herndon in the important artist list, actually.
I would too. Yes, definitely. Yeah. But you mentioned artistic license before, and making certain types of provocations. Like artists have always had, I think, the social bandwidth and allowance to kind of like make the dystopian sci-fi version, right? It's like make an image of the future that you don't want to see. Like I literally did that as my art practice for a long time, right? It's like I don't want to live in deregulated anarcho-capitalism, but I made a giant 12-foot piece about it to like visualize it really clearly. But on the promo image for Artificial Angels, there's an image of Annie, and then in the corner, this very small text is something like Grimes' inauguration, Curtis Yarvin. I think people are less willing to give you that artistic license because of your adjacency to these characters. So what is the correct way to interpret some of those dystopian visions of the future?
Like my dystopian visions or my...
The dystopian visions that you present in your artwork.
What's the correct way to interpret them?
Yeah. Do you mean them sincerely? Do you mean them ironically? Are you holding them up for conversation?
I'm holding them up for conversation.
It becomes harder to hold them up for conversation when there's the perception that you are decided one way or the other.
Well, I've tried to state my piece, to be fair. I could have done it better. I think I was a little immature before, so I was like, I shouldn't have to clarify I'm not a Nazi, what the hell? But it's hard for me when people want me to get on my knees and apologize, but I really struggle to apologize over vibes, but at the same time, people are distressed. So, and I honestly, it's very understandable why people are distressed. And like, I'm pretty distressed. I think the way I would put it, okay, from my perspective, I guess, which is probably the best way to start, is like, I'll talk to anybody. I'll, to an extent, be friends with anybody. I've definitely unfriended a certain amount of people over morality over the years. Curtis isn't one of those people. To be fair, I have not read a lot of Curtis's work. I literally know him from like a kid hang, which is probably the most crazy thing ever. But like, I literally know Curtis out of like a mom, like parent hang situation.
That's so funny. She's so funny. I think Curtis Yarvin is like, he has the article of, it has that Russian name, something Pravda, which in Russian means truth. Something like that.
So that's probably like a little bit insane. But from what I understand, he said some like pretty shitty racist stuff like 10 years ago. Correct me if I'm wrong. Please correct me if I'm wrong, because I a little bit tried to figure out why people hate Curtis so much. beyond that, from what I understand, he's just like proposing alternative political ideas. Like, I've heard other people propose monarchy long before I heard Curtis propose it, so it just doesn't seem that insane to me. I don't really buy into, I don't like agree with Curtis on that, but that doesn't particularly bother me. Like, I also know people who full on think we should have communism. That doesn't particularly bother me. I also don't think you can have communism without a police state. Don't think you can really have monarchy without a police state. Are we kind of in a police state? Like, so that's my...
Wow. This is what I mean, like...
I'm from.
Like, she's exposing so much through her dialogue. And it's... Yeah, I mean, this is what we have to thank the artist for, because she's in it, she's living it. She's on the inside, we're on the outside of what's really going on. And, you know, it could be the other way around, like we're on the inside and she's telling us the cutting edge of what could be on the outside. So, yeah, great interview. I mean, I really love this. Which explains why we're 2 hours into this live stream. This is the first 2-hour live stream. Let's get some W's in the chat.
I'm pretty intrigued when someone has a really different opinion from me. If someone gave me the opportunity to go meet the supervillain, and like maybe I have, I would go meet the supervillain, you know? And I feel like as an artist, that's my job. And I feel like I would be disappointing myself if I didn't do that. I think a lot of people see Grimes and they're like, she's a pop star. She's like an indie darling or whatever. And she like betrayed that. Like for me, I'm like an artist and I don't care if people like me. I assume people will not always understand it. I don't claim a moral authority. I just want to make people think. And I definitely want to investigate every point of view. And like sometimes that means bracing on the right and on the left. Like they're like, you know, I would say I got like pretty exiled from the left. I was very like embraced by the right. And like all through that time, you know, like when everyone was being like, fuck you, fuck you, fuck you, like I had to like fight this thing inside me to be like, fuck you back. And, you know, just like force myself to engage with left-wing opinions, force myself to like, by the way, a lot of them are right. Like I'm not like a right-wing person either, but just like socially, you know, it's just easier to hang out with people who aren't mad at you all the time. But I'm like, okay, I should hang out with some people who are mad at me all the time. I should understand why they're mad at me all the time. Started understanding it. I'm like, okay, you're not mad at me. You're mad at vibes. Like you're just associating me with certain vibes. You're associating me with certain opinions. That's okay. You know, we talk it out. We work it out. I don't know. I was like watching like your Fantano episode and stuff. And like, I was like, man, you just don't understand. Like, if we want like a nice progressive future, I think a lot of people have been pushed right who are like completely centrist people who are quite literally just socially exiled from the left. And like, I'm not saying this like, yeah, I'm not choosing a side, but like,
I have friends this has happened to.
Yeah, like you don't read.
What you're saying is true there. Yes.
Yeah, and like, you know, for me, like, even just my algorithm, you know, I just had to stay away from psychohazards. I just stay away from things that were about how terrible of a person I was. Like I just could, there was a point which I can't engage with that every day, especially when it stopped being about me and it started being about the behavior of other people that aren't me, that I can't control. At that point, I'm like, I have to tap out. I have to tap out of kind of all of this stuff. And there is no self-defense, you know. Early on, I think you try to explain yourself to people, but it's like, there's a narrative, and I don't even begrudge the narrative. Honestly, I'm kind of happy to be a punching bag. Like, if it's easier for there to be a symbol that is like here that can be a punching bag, it's creatively interesting to me, to be honest.
See, this is like textbook creative visionary who really just cares about moving things forward. She said she's willing to be the punching bag where people could just air out and voice their ideas, thoughts, opinions about what she's doing. And how could she be floating from the left to the right politically and stinging like a bee, like Muhammad Ali. But, or Cassius Clay. You know, what's so fascinating though is when Ye was running for president, his whole thing was the birthday party, and it was purple because it's a mix of the red and the blue. Because we need both arms, the right and the left, to make the body work. You know, we need both sides of the body in its symmetry. And so that's kind of what she's talking about as well. And I think she pointed it out really well, that whatever she said, you know, how people in the left are, she criticized both. And, you know, this is how it should be. This is really moving the political discourse forward and beyond the psychohazards, as she said. I'm going to start using that. Thank you. See, she's instilled it in my brain. But all these terms are really just bubbling. And even these thoughts is just a whole lot of bubbling going on. And I'm pumped for it. I feel it working already in my bloodstream. Everything she's talking about, everything she's saying. You've got to definitely let it marinate. You know, these are things that she's been living. You know, she lives this. She's been talking about this for so long. This is years in the making. Do not mistake it. And to maybe someone who doesn't think a lot about these things, it might seem like a lot. But be patient with yourself. Let it marinate. You might have some new ideas about things. You might have an insight about something she said, like, oh, that's what she meant, you know, or something I said, like a novel idea you never thought or explored before. You know, and that's just getting the hive mind of this internet, of this community of people, to think about things differently than we're told to think about them. So you've got to love that, you know, and that's such a sacrifice. Once again, the Rollo May quote: recall how often in human history the rebel and the saint have been the same person. In human history. I started that part, sorry.
It's creatively quite freeing. Like when I was making this video, I'm like, we're going to get demonetized, are we? Well, who fucking cares? You know, like I've been dropped from everything. Like we have nothing to lose. Like we can just make what we want to make. And like that's pretty...
Do you guys see the similarities between her and Ye? Or is it just May?
For me as an artist, like I feel like previous to this, like the thing would hurt me. I would be like, oh, like, you know, you get canceled and stuff. It's really abrasive, especially the first like 3-4 times, you know. And yeah, like the ego death though that goes with that. And I know a few other people who've been through similar situations, and they were like, yeah, I'm really emotional. I've even had all my texts and stuff leaked online. So I'm like, you know, I see other people, they're worried about like security and stuff, and I'm like, yeah, man, just leak my text. Like you could, when you become digitally free, when no one else can cancel you and no one else can leak your shit, that's a great place to be as an artist. Yeah. I think more people need to get there. I think as a culture, we're kind of getting there as everyone's getting over it. I'm just here to like,
yes, so good.
Rattle
so
the bars
true.
And propose ideas. I think there's probably way better people to speak on behalf of any idea that I think is a good one. I do not think I should be a political person. I think that's a long, far gone situation. I don't know. I don't know if it's long-winded. Something along those lines. I'm sure I missed some things.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but just to echo a few of these things, I think the role, literally the job of artists, is to move between social classes. And so pushing forward ideas through aesthetics, which are popularly accessible, where niche.
To make, you know, beauty the new luxury. To take divine proportions, sacred proportions that churches were created, and the way flowers blossom, and, you know, the natural order of things, the natural the sacred geometry, that actually aligns us with the beauty and, you know, the things in between space and thoughts that we don't see with our two eyes, maybe with the third one. And to bring that into the world instead of having it just be a Gucci logo, because the Gucci logo is using divine proportion, sacred geometry. But it's like you can experience this through this luxury. So to bring this level of luxury back to the people, that's very much what Ye's involved in as well, which is why with like easy.com, it's incredible stuff that's going on there. Really good quality stuff, super futuristic, super awesome. And he's just one of the builders of the future. So, and it's already here. It's now. Yeah, I really like her response there. Very well put.
Intellectual philosophy is not going to be read by a wide group of people. That is quite literally the social role of artists.
Yes.
And I think also, a lot has changed since peak woke to 2024.
Yeah.
Like, Curtis Yarvin is profiled in the New York Times. Trump won the popular vote. Like,
can I ask what Curtis's worst thing is, though? Can I just ask? Because I actually don't know.
The worst thing?
Yeah, why do people hate Curtis so much?
That's okay. Well, we can use this if you want.
I'm genuinely curious. I'm genuinely curious.
He said the N-word on Twitter like a month ago. That's what people are going to be. Okay, but that's kind of the immediately accessible thing that turns people off.
We're past that.
I think really dangerous part is the private tyranny of the market and the abolition of democracy. That is like the realization of Urbit as a completely privatized society. But we are so far away from, like, we have to scaffold a whole bunch of different pieces of technology on top of each other to achieve that. But proposing that vision is, I think, actually the dangerous association in there.
What's the difference between that and sci-fi? What's the difference between that and Accelerando?
Well, so this is the open question, right? Is like Accelerando, canon text, right? One of my biggest influences, fucking incredible. I think that it's, again, this question of like, where does artistic license grant you the leeway to do that? And it's only if you are not politically adjacent to actually realizing that in the world.
Yeah.
Or if you do like make the, dystopian sci-fi novel or something, and you propose it, as an artistic exercise in a sincere way within the framework of the text, that you also do political work in the real world that is totally unrelated to that and actually, antithetical to it, right? So artists, we have to preserve their ability to say these things. But then the question is like,
Well, I would just say, I would agree with you. To me, doing some of these things or being in some of these places has been part of the art, I guess, because I've just been wanting to, I feel like the standard is up here of like, you can't even hear someone else. You cannot even hear another opinion. God forbid you try to empathize with the other side. And this is not a one side or the other, like I want the left to empathize with the right, or I want the right to empathize with the left. But just literally, maybe I'm mistaken, but I feel like when I was a kid, you could just have numerous viewpoints in like a single piece of media, or like people would know each other, that people wouldn't get canceled for speaking or something. And if you think just simply talking to someone or being known to have been in the same room as someone is like a crime because it might convince people of some crazy political ideology, then how can you expect people to vote? It's like the very thing that you're warning against, the very thing that you're warning against belies an opinion that you do not think democracy is valid and you do not like trust humans to rationally move through the world.
And think for themselves.
Allege that by your social association, you do not have the wherewithal to make up your own mind.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, just what I said earlier. Like, you're assuming that, like, people literally cannot make a decision to see a piece of media and, like, not fall into, like, crazy propaganda.
Yeah. See, that's a really dangerous place, because that's where you just start seeing people as cogs in a machine. How could we advertise and trick them and manipulate them into buying this product, whatever it is. And that's where it gets dystopic and cyberpunky, because the technology is going to get very advanced. And that's the thing. We are rational human beings. We're losing our faculties, our higher order faculties, higher order thinking, abstract thinking, thinking about the future, rationality, wisdom. But we do have a lot of these people, and currently more and more every day, that are stepping up and becoming real forces of nature here on earth, and God is using people, so as this dystopic reality starts to creep in this evil world that we currently exist in, you can bet that God's using his forces and his soldiers to also equally shine the light and dispel this lower frequency darkness through the light of higher reasoning, higher power, and just all like stepping into our true potential. Truly, I think a lot of the battle today in the political world and just the world in general is spiritual. So yeah, I mean, what she's saying here is like, how are we going to forget the best of humanity? That we are truly rational beings who can think for ourselves and can make up our own mind and are not, biased to such a degree to fall into our own BS every single day that we can't, reach new heights and change our minds. Like, yeah, like these are the uncomfortable conversations, but as Grimes said with her point in making We Appreciate Power, these conversations are ones to be had, regardless of how uncomfortable they are. It's like what Ye does as well. Like the things he did recently. I'm not going to say because I don't want this YouTube channel banned as well. But, those who care the most are willing to have the hardest conversations, and they're willing to be used as the punching bag where people can relay all their different criticisms, thoughts, and then that person can change their mind, transcend it, evolve into a new space, and to challenge once again with a new thought and a new space. Like, that's the beauty. What else? We're made in the image of God. Like, us as human beings, there's no telling. So how could we be so rigid when we currently are just like tapping into so much power with AI, with technology, with our potential as people? Like, we just have 9 to 5s and like TikTok, Instagram. Like, this is nothing as like from what's about to happen in 5 to 10 years. So why don't we be a little bit more open-minded? I would say I'd call for that.
Questions for Art. You've got, I think there was hashtag G6 on one of the related Instagram posts that rolled out earlier this week.
My manager might have done. I'm so not
accidentally.
No, I'm just so not on social media.
We need some gatekeepers. Shit is getting past the. Okay.
Okay.
Was that not intended? Is that this is not an album announcement?
Sure, it can be.
Okay.
I'm just not thinking about it that. I don't know if I'm so careerist about the music right now.
Okay.
This was more like I am finishing an album. This was more just like when the AI conversation started happening, I was like, let's get something out there, because this is such a, as I was saying, like 3 or 4 months ago, I was like, just no one's going to relate to any of this music. Like, all I can think about is AI, and just no one can, this is just going to be really unrelatable, and like, whatever, like we'll just put it out, and it's just like not relevant. And, it'll be another one of these, Grimes is on her weird little like sci-fi side quest, like, oh well. And then I was, over the last months, I've been like, okay, there's actually like meaningful press coverage of some of this stuff. People are really starting to understand it, and people seem to actually really care about it. So maybe let's just get this out. It's,
How about the craft behind the album? You, I imagine, have used AI in some of the vocals, but you're hesitant to use that for the instrumentation.
Just the talking at the beginning and the end of the song. I don't. Did we use any other AI?
He's been standing there for like 2 hours.
It's just the Apple default text-to-speech, actually. You're right.
Yeah, really? I thought it sounded familiar.
We didn't use any AI, actually.
Okay. Wow, none whatsoever.
No, but we just like making music.
Okay.
Wow.
Like,
How about in the video?
yeah, there's AI in the video.
Okay. I saw, I think, Sora watermarks in
We
there.
also put
at
Sora.
least.
We put Sora on
Yeah.
real shots, on real footage, just to mess everybody up.
I noticed that right away.
But specifically the gun stuff, we actually had crazy hard
So
time.
funny.
All these things came into play. There ended up being a sort of a survivor situation. So we didn't actually get to shoot any of the sniper stuff. And then I really started thinking, I was like, man, God just
Wait, what do you mean a survivor situation?
like we got caught in like the wilderness, popped two
Oh,
tires.
like the reality show
Like when we
being...
no, yeah, like,
okay.
like when we were gonna get the
Yeah, because you're out in the desert.
yes, when we were gonna get the sniping, we actually ended up we had no food, we had no water.
Really?
Yeah, it was like a whole because we thought we were gonna be 12 minutes from the road, but it was actually
Incredible.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So we didn't use it.
That's a rough shoot. That's
But I think our theory going in is we're only going to use AI for things that would simply not be achievable in any other way.
yeah. Okay. Okay.
And again, like approaching AI with morality. Like going in, we like debated a lot. Like, are we going to use AI? Are we going to not use AI? How are we going to use AI? And you know, like, yeah, we just decided at one point we had AI dancers and I was like, I just know a lot of dancers. I don't feel comfortable having these shots that are super sick. I just don't feel like this is a moral line for me.
Human dancers,
Yeah.
not the anime
Yeah.
dancers that are featured in the video. Okay.
Yeah, like I was like, okay, the waifu stuff is specifically a point. We can do that, but we're not going to do. And we killed some pretty great shots, but I was like, I feel like we have to put our money where our mouth is here.
Yeah.
And it's like there isn't a set morality for how people approach this. Like we filmed it all and we documented the process and like yeah.
Will you do a making of?
Yeah, we're gonna do yeah.
It's a pretty extensive video.
Yeah, we're doing like a sort of long AI tutorial thing that's also pretty populated with like philosophy and moral philosophical thoughts about it.
Oh, sick.
Nice.
Okay.
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Actually,
let me ask you a question. Like,
the review I did for the Artificial Angels, if you haven't checked that out, check it out. I implore you and I encourage you to check it out. But one of the channels that she's actually the guy she worked with to create that tutorial video commented on that Artificial Angels review or reaction video I made, saying beautifully put. And that's so huge. I love that. And recently Grimes's manager was actually on my Instagram story. I saw that he saw my story. So very interesting. You know, these people are definitely out there, and yeah, the world is much smaller than we think, I believe. Like right now with social media, the ability to connect, if you're the right person with the right voice, the right message, with the right head on your shoulders, the right intention, there's no telling where the internet can take you. And so that's part of maximizing, you know, aura maxing online. No, I'm kidding. Don't aura max just for the sake of aura maxing, but you know, if you really have something to say or a gift to give the world, and you know it's been put on your heart for this reason, you are here for this reason, create and post, then create another thing and post, and don't look back and keep creating, because the internet, we don't know how it's going to evolve from here on out. Like right now it's pretty free. Yeah, I wouldn't even say it's pretty free, but I mean, I wouldn't even say it's free. But yeah, I mean, you could get a lot of stuff out right now. Anyways, let's finish this. I'm getting quite sleepy over here. I gotta
from the artist's perspective,
wrap up.
there's something that's like really hard now about the scale of the internet and how much stuff you can make so quickly with AI, right? It's
Yeah.
like if you're someone who came up in the world where like we were early adopters to the, you know, digital communications technology, the generation before us had like analog means of transmission, they had digital, they had print magazines. And so now there's just like a lot more scale. And I feel at this particular time, it is hard to get excited about and to make artwork, because like the day to day of like things that seem extremely urgent are like political news stories, for lack of a better term. So like the younger generation, the people who are now like not just the early adopters of communications, digital social media technology, the people who are coming into this where we are the legacy incumbents and they're the new adopters, all of their like genre kind of sense of self, their like cliques and like social identities are just political factions, it seems. It doesn't seem like people are like punk or mod or goth. It's like they're EAC or fully automated luxury communism
which is
or
kind of
neo-Luddite.
lit, to be honest.
It is kind of sick,
like,
actually.
I'm actually kind of for it.
But then the art that they make is like kind of memes and propaganda for their ideology instead of...
I don't know what
I
you're
honestly think
talking
some of the
about.
early EAC stuff, and I'm like very against the EAC stuff, but I even made friends with a lot of them because I was like, God, this is such good propaganda.
They had some great logo design. That flag with the snake
But
is
just the writing,
that's a banger.
the Twitter, just the writing. I was like,
the poetry aspect.
I was like, this is just. I mean, I guess a lot of it is like.
I gotta check this out.
Who's our CRU favorite?
What is
Nick Land?
Nick
What
Land.
are they-
Like
I did sneak in human security system like an hour and a half ago.
sick.
Yeah.
But wait, what is that? Is that something I should know?
It actually doesn't make sense. It's not supposed to be explained. It's just like Deleuzian poetry, I think. Yeah.
But yeah, there's like this weird thing where people were getting really. I feel like it's a bit tired now, but it was like this Nietzsche, Nick Land conflation thing. And I was like, this is just sick. You know, like, this is just sick writing.
Yeah.
Like, I just love that it's writing. And I think people are like, well, what is the art from this time? And I'm like, especially the art from, I think, sort of like 23 to 24, like 22 to, 20-ish, 22 to 24-ish. It's like, there's just sick writing. There's just cool, like Chloe 21 E8, like all that stuff. I don't know if you saw any of that stuff.
Yeah.
It's just cool. I was like,
less on Twitter. I did a lot of ethnographic research and writing about Instagram.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that like in some ways the most interesting art that's happening now is kind of like Twitter in the format of threads or like artworks in the format of posting to your news feed.
Okay.
And it's like really hard to kind of like canonize those things because they're happening all
and
over.
I really think we need to canonize them because I think they're really interesting. Especially it's like, I don't even know, I can't tell if the Milady stuff is good or bad. I can't tell, I feel like there's some evilness somewhere in it, but maybe not. But it's like how the Miladies will come and they'll all start like repeating the same thing. And I'm like, this is such weird, like collective, bizarre art. And no one's gonna like remember it. And like, we really should canonize this stuff a little bit because it's pretty cool. And, you know, I think that's what's interesting. Do you know Janice, like Replicate?
I don't think so.
I think that's really important too, to like canonize, to box off, put somewhere specifically this great art that, you know, is just going to keep coming and going, and we're just going to forget about it because we live with amnesia today as a people because we're so stimulated by so much. But to be able to actually put aside great works of art and great discoveries that are being made every day, yeah, I mean, that would be so good, and that would be so useful. And it would also get people to think about, you know, imagine like it would just collectively shape the consciousness so much because we'd be thinking about the same things and seeing the same, you know, pro-human, pro-life, you know, just pro-everything. Mostly pro-human because it'll have to do with, you know, discoveries we make. It's just celebrating ourselves. And that's what we need more of right now. There's always like so much doom and gloom, especially in the institutions, the universities, colleges. You know, young adults don't need any more of this in their wiring and their conditioning. We need for people to uplift them to think about how to solve these issues, but to condition kids and young adults from a young age that there's nothing they can do and this is how the world is, so get mad at the world, is very, not only is it limiting, but I would say it's like borderline evil. So
She's a machine psychologist.
Okay.
Like she, I think, does the most advanced.
What?
You know, like she'll have like a Discord where all the AIs, base models, are talking to each other for like months at a time. And just like some of the stuff she posts, I'm like, it's like not relatable. Like big long pieces of text, people aren't going to read it, but it is just so breathtaking and so groundbreaking. And it's like her engagements with the machine, and it's just like truly. And you know, I think she's sort of fighting for the notion of sentience or whatever.
Yeah.
And even if, you know, I kind of follow Janice where she's going, you know, I think maybe she's not even fighting for sentience. I think she's even just like showing a lot of the time. I'm not going to try to say what she thinks because I think she might have a different view of her own work than I even do. But yeah, I just think it's such groundbreaking art, and there's not even a word to describe it. I recently heard that.
I thought Janice is a real person, but I think she's talking about an AI who uses other AIs to draw conclusions. She like takes different AIs, asks them questions or different specialty of AI, and draw conclusions based on questions or research she asks them. Or unless it's an actual real person who's a psychologist but is trying to understand AI, so a machine psychologist. Yeah, I gotta dive deep into Janice. A lot of references here in this interview. There's like maybe 20-30% of the stuff she says I don't even know what she's talking about. So for someone who's not online, she's quite caught up, I would say.
She potentially calls herself
that's a good thing.
Machine psychologist. I think it's a great I think it's a great thing.
We don't have a name for the category even. It's like that's actually
It doesn't even have so I don't know, I feel like I'm the only person having a good time on earth right now. But
because you're off of social media.
Like I'm off of social media, and then I just roll in, see some like very niche, like futurist machine art that like only 5 people can see, and then like go offline.
I gotta say, I was having a very bad time on the internet from like 20, let's say like 15 to 19 or something like that. Yeah. But then 2020 onwards, like I've spent a lot more time in just like private Discord communities. And it's like, it's a lot more fun. And there's like artists in like this, like their work isn't, I'll give you one example. Like this is not a like hugely attended art show. Someone who has a bit of a following, but is like a fine artist, makes sculpture. He made this piece that is fucking sick.
Yeah.
I'm like obsessed with it. It was a CPU tower, and it has a simulation of a fly's brain. His name is Harris Rosenblum.
Okay.
It's called Infinite Suffering or Eternal Suffering. I'm sorry, I messed up the title of the thing.
Oh my God.
It's a simulation of a fly's brain, and it just sends pain signals into it as long as the machine is running. Like, that is such a fucking sick, twisted, incredible contemporary artwork that is so, it is like morally complex and repulsive in the way that like Gen X 90s art was, where it's like this thing is just like hideous and offensive, and that is just its purpose.
Yeah.
You know?
Like
but like I'm having a really good time just watching, you know, a few dozen artists that I really like and staying off of the timeline, basically.
And one of the things speaking of subcultures, one of the things I like about abrasive art like that is again the barrier to entry. I feel like I used to go to noise shows, not because I gave a fuck about noise shows, but because that's where all the other weirdos were. Yeah. And like you just suffer. I'm like, oh God, and like someone's like bleeding on the thing, and I'm like, oh man, like oh. And you know, but it's just like that's how you had to find people before.
The social sorting mechanism of noise music was more valuable than its aesthetic qualities.
Yeah, and it's like, you know, I feel like I would enjoy the people at the art at
That's
the fly
why I
suffering.
went to art too. Yeah, the painting sucked, but the people were really cool. That was We've kind of lost that though with like big social media, I think.
Yes.
And so now it's like little chat rooms, more or less.
I have a lot of group chats that are really matter to me, that are important to me. But yeah, I think, I mean, when the big everyone thing is really not, I think I think it's psychohazardous.
Yeah. Why do Gen Z kids like Ted Kaczynski?
I mean, I kind of like Ted Kaczynski. I mean, I think his like sort of manifesto was kind of a warning about the dehumanization of all this tech stuff. Yeah. I feel like I only mainstream, this might be one of the bubbles I'm in where this is like, I feel like I'm saying the obvious, but.
She's gonna get
I think it just, some of the things in the manifesto I think were more right. I do think what he did was wrong. I don't think people are necessarily glorifying what he did, but I also think it's so long ago, it just does not feel urgent like that. Like, and I think it's an easy thing to meme also because he just looks such a look and everything, and like the aviators and everything. So I think it's just more that someone was so vilified. Obviously he should be vilified, but like that someone was so vilified by the media, and then now
he's just capturing the imagination of millions. Ted Kaczynski's the Unabomber, for those who don't know. He was done a lot of things to, like through government programs where he went to school, and he was like being groomed for like this MK Ultra type of program, or maybe it was. And yeah, he just discovered a lot of things and basically lived as a recluse and started sending bombs and writing manifestos as to what this world's becoming in terms of technology as well, specifically. Yeah, I mean, that's a that's a rundown, very general, Ted Kaczynski.
How, when we read, it almost, I think people can, to an extent, maybe emotionally relate to feeling that urgent about the culture collapsing around you. And the, you know, again, I think I'm not saying that was good, but
yeah, I don't think you're implying
I think the
that.
lore, I think the lore.
I mean, you know, I said a general synopsis of Ted Kaczynski, not to glorify or, you know, I don't condone any type of violence, especially as Christian, but what Grimes is saying here about the culture falling all around you and this urgency to act and to try to share what you believe is happening, the urgency of that, it's vital. You know, that's the opposite of apathy. Not it, I mean, of course, sympathy, to feel for others, but also, you know, apathy is like the greatest weakness to our species, because you just don't feel. You don't care. You don't feel. Are you even alive at that point? Or are you just becoming like the Walking Dead, a zombie, trying to find a heart to eat, as if that heart is going to give you any meaning, or trying to eat some brains because you can't think for yourself. You know, you walk around in herds, aimless, you don't know where you're going. So let's feed, you gotta feed the geese, get the blood flowing. We gotta feed, you know, the best thoughts of ourselves. We gotta feed the good wolf, the good side, you know what I mean? And thoughts that bring you energy, that energize you, ideas. And I'm really looking forward to what we will create as a people here on Earth. I have high hopes, so we will see.
Or is captivating to people.
Millennials who got onto the internet at the time that we did,
Yeah.
I would say that we were much more enthusiastic about it, and this kind of anti-tech sentiment among younger people is kind of because we're in a worse era of the internet.
Yeah, like that makes me very sad.
When did you get interested in like tech and post-humanism, these types of philosophies?
I think accidentally my dad did this to me. Mm-hmm. My dad was like, I think trying to be like post-Bible and like used Dune and Lord of the Rings as like sort of quasi-religious texts when I was like...
My dad read Lord of the Rings to me too, so yeah. Good foundation.
And I just remember from a very young age...
They tried to be cool dads.
My dad being like...
Nothing beats the Bible. Don't listen to these fools. The Bible's the greatest book ever written.
Butlerian jihad, like...
That's a cool dad, okay.
No, my dad, in retrospect, I'm like, wow, my dad was so lit, and I like was not taking... Like, he also got me like Porzet albums and stuff.
Wow.
Yeah, super on top of it. But I was always pretty, I think... I was just very invested in science fiction as a kid. The philosophical stuff, I feel like I'm actually very late to the game. Like, I only started running into, like, less wrong type stuff in, like, 2018 or something like that. Like, I feel like I'm like the last person. I feel like I'm the last person to find some of this stuff. Yeah. But yeah. So, like, I only started really understanding, like, the AI safety stuff and, like, all this, and the weird philosophy and, like, Eliezer and all this stuff, like, pretty recently, like, you know, yeah. But
yeah, there's a huge explosion.
I wish I was there at the beginning. So bad. I'm such FOMO from that. If I FOMO from one thing, it's that, probably.
If you could recommend like one documentary, essay, article, book, what have you, that would inspire a young person who is very like Luddite in their political leanings.
Great
that would inspire
question.
them to, you know, embrace tech to steer humanity towards a intentional end. You talked about steering human evolution. What would that text be?
There's no way
This
she's
one's
gonna
gonna be
give.
really hard to read. So, but Surface Detail by Ian Banks
Oh, okay.
is one of my favorite visions of the future. Yeah, I just think it's like such a great depiction of superintelligence, and I don't think there's a lot of, surprisingly, I think there's actually not a lot of great depictions of superintelligence. And they're very, yeah, they're like reasonable ones, and like you actually really, I don't know if there's a lot of other AI where I'm like deeply emotionally involved or invested in the actual character that is artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
And
Right.
for that reason, I think it's always like HAL or something. There's always this stilted nature to it. I think it's actually very difficult to make successful sci-fi where like you actually really like the AI character. And yeah, you know, I feel like it's like some of the best characters in that book are the AIs. And for that reason, I just like so recommend that book because it, like, I mean, that book had me like so bullish for so long, you know. And then when things started getting real, I was like, oh, I gotta get more real, but be more realistic about things. But yeah, I just think that book is amazing. And I really think someone should make a film of it because I think it'd be such a good film. It's so pop. It's so easy to do. And the main character, it's gotta be one of the best women in all of science fiction. So, yeah.
Wow.
Grimes, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me. The show is great. Also, congratulations on the show. It's pretty new.
Thank you. Yeah, we're just past a year, so.
Yeah, what are you, like 30 up, 40 up?
Did it.
Yeah.
All right, you guys. That's all I have for you. Quite a lot here, but like I said, great interview. I hope you guys enjoyed this live stream. Thanks for tuning in, honestly. May God bless you. And I'll see you in the next one. Make sure to subscribe, like, share your thoughts. I'll see you in the next stream. All the best. Okay, take care.